I see a large idea on the horizon. You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Overnight success. The Blazinator 3000. Double blaze. Right. That's misinformation.
Market clearing order inbound.
That's just wrong.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Come, get up. Trust the experts. Vibecodes. We are experts. Founder mode. Vibecodes.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Experts.
UAV online.
Glaze. Double glaze. Triple glaze. Double kill. Vibecodes. Wrong. Pump is up. Glaze.
Team deathmatch.
We are experts. Triple glaze. That's just wrong. Right.
Market clearing order inbound.
Come, get up.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Strike one. Strike two. Activate Golden Retriever mode. Trust the experts.
Market clearing order inbound.
Vibecodes.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Experts.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Founder mode.
We are surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Strike one. Strike two. Activate Golden Retriever mode. Trust the experts.
Husky clearing order inbound.
Vibecodes.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. It's them, man.
Founder known.
You're watching TBPN! Today is Thursday, February 26, 2026. We are live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology, the Fortress of Finance, the capital of capital. Let me tell you about ramp.com. Time is money, save both. Easy to use corporate cards, bill pay, accounting, and a whole lot more all in one place. We have quite the linear lineup for you today, folks. We got a scoop. We got an interview with the robot vacuum guy. Linear, of course, is the system for modern software development. 70% of enterprise workspaces on Linear are using agents.
Sam, the guy who exposed
backdoor.
that he could remotely access 7,000 DJI Robo vacuums.
Very interesting story.
Enabling live video floor plans and joystick control. Yeah. We're very excited to have him on in just over an hour. Then we have Ken Ritchie, chairman of FlexJet.
Yeah.
Very excited for that one. Quickly followed by Howard Marks.
At Oak Tree Capital.
Oak Tree.
Talk about
He
the
has a new
market
letter
cycle,
today.
and then a lightning round to be remembered forever. Lots of deals getting done. Lots of gong-worthy news.
And we have a surprise guest as well
Oh,
joining
yes,
us
we do.
for
in
the
just a little
timeline.
bit. But
In
first,
just a
we
little
will
bit.
tell you about NVIDIA earnings. They crushed. Highly anticipated, as always. NVIDIA is permanently holding up the U.S. economy. It continues to hold up the U.S. economy, the global markets, but it's sold off even though they blew out earnings, and it was a very good quarter. So earnings dropped yesterday after we got off the phone with Doug O'Loughlin from SemiAnalysis. SemiAnalysis did have some good breakdowns here, but the top line revenue came in at $68.1 billion. Up 73% year over year and 20% quarter on quarter. And this beat consensus estimates by nearly 3%. The stock price popped around 3% immediately, but then sold off 5% after at the market open this morning, making it the stock's worst day since last April. They're now just a tiny,
Was it April
tiny
DeepSeek?
$4.5 trillion company.
April was DeepSeek?
Last April was DeepSeek. Yeah, that makes sense. People were saying you won't need a whole bunch of NVIDIA chips because you'll be able to inference cheap commodity hardware, and the models
And
will
DeepSeek was climbing the App Store charts in America totally organically.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird stuff going on.
They weren't using a massive bot farm at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I sort of steelman the DeepSeek story. There was this interesting takeaway, which was that even though the numbers were sort of misreported,
We had it wrong.
I think it's
DeepSeek was
Liberation
January.
DeepSeek was January.
Liberation Day was.
Liberation Day tariffs, chip sanctions. But the DeepSeek lesson was like you can distill models, you can get a certain level of intelligence at a much lower cost. And that is real, but the demand on the frontier is just incredible because people are like, oh, I have a strong opinion about 5.3 versus 4.6. Like, people really care about being on that perfect leading edge for exactly what their use case is. You see this with people having favorite models, favorite flavors all over the place. And so the demand and the Jevons paradox really just powered right through. What do you have to say about that?
I was going to say, I think when the DeepSeek moment happened, the narrative was not that they were distilling though. It was that they had built, they had trained a brand new model
on
with
less
very
hardware.
few resources.
Yeah.
There was no sense that they were just distilling them.
There was rumors about it pretty quickly.
There were rumors, but
Yeah.
the main
Yeah, yeah,
narrative was
yeah,
not that
yeah.
they're being distilled.
Yeah.
It was that they're training
I think what I mean
very-
what I mean about distilling is that like the truth that came out over the news cycle was that distillation does get you somewhere near a particular frontier capability and allows you to reduce cost, but there is still another order of magnitude of demand for the next generation and the next level of the frontier, and we have yet to see a plateau emerge for demand for whatever the next frontier is. And
overall
who
the
knows?
story
I personally don't think it's
the
gonna
story of
slow
the
down.
last year is that there's very, 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 very little demand for number 3.
Yeah.
There's some demand for number 2, and there's an exceptional amount of demand for the most performant model for a specific task.
Yeah. So going back to our newsletter today, our earnings recap, which you can subscribe to at tbpn.com. After the earnings call, SemiAnalysis called the results staggering. I love it. Clean bill of health on gross margin, revenue, and the guide is firmly above buy-side bogeys. Incredibly clean, really. They also pointed out what NVIDIA said about supply commitments with $21.4 billion of inventory on hand, up from $19.8 billion. They have $95.2 billion of supply locked in with chip manufacturers, also stating, we have strategically secured inventory and capacity to meet demand beyond the next several quarters. In other words, we're not running out of chips anytime soon. That's good news for NVIDIA. The second order effect that I think was interesting that Doug O'Loughlin flagged for us was that even if TSMC does scale up magically, or they figure out how to build another fab, Arizona increases capacity, even if NVIDIA has sharp elbows and is able to push out other demand and get all the line time they need to build all the accelerators that they need, soak up all the CPU demand, et cetera, well, then you could still wind up in a weird scenario where NVIDIA has the chips. They're ready to sell them. The hyperscalers want to buy them. The AI labs want to inference them, but there's just not enough energy. And so there's this question of when does the chip bottlenecks shift to the energy bottleneck? That could be part of what is sort of worrying people, because you can see in the timeline, we have this chart, Are You Not Entertained, from Nathan Benaik over at Air Street. And he's taking a screenshot from the Financial Times, and it is just one of the most incredible graphs I've ever seen. And so as you see this chart, you have to wonder if there are any bottlenecks that they will run into. TSMC capacity is
and
one.
I asked Doug about
energy is
this.
another.
I asked Doug about this. What does NVIDIA do if their customers do have an energy bottleneck?
Yeah.
I feel like they'll find a way to still
agree.
ship the chips.
I agree, and truthfully, as big of a story data centers are, they're still consuming well under 1% of U.S. electricity, and so there are chips to be moved around. There are new power plants to be brought online. We're actually talking to Doug Bernauer from Radiant about nuclear power today, and there are so many different ways to solve the energy bottleneck, but it is very real world. It is very slow. And if there's a timing mismatch, you could see a little bit of a flat line that I think people might be worried about. So Jensen himself strongly pushed back against the SaaSpocalypse narrative yesterday, which is interesting because he doesn't necessarily have to. He could be out there saying yes, all those SaaS CPU workloads, they're all going to be GPU workloads now. And yeah, you should actually sell all your SaaS because the future is inferenced. Every app that you use, it's not going to be code that's running on a CPU. It's going to be inferenced on a GPU on demand. And so, demand for NVIDIA should be even higher. He doesn't really have that many bags with the SaaS companies necessarily. Of course, they'd be upset if he was talking trash, but he's not. He's defending them.
But he buys a lot of software.
Sure, yeah, of course. He said, I think the markets got it wrong on the SaaSpocalypse. This is Jensen Huang talking to CNBC's Becky Quick, pushing back on the fears that AI agents will cannibalize the enterprise software industry. Instead, he expects a broad swath of software firms to use agentic AI to develop their software and boost efficiency. In what he described as counterintuitive, Huang said that AI agents won't replace these software tools, but will use them instead. Why even waste the tokens building a calculator when you can just download the calculator SaaS or whatever? I don't know. Whatever SaaS you want to grab off. And this is certainly certainly what we've seen with databases. Certain databases have just skyrocketed in demand because they're the ones that the agents are pulling off the shelf. And so, yes, the agent could design a new database and install it, but that's a lot of work. It's a lot of wasted tokens when databases already exist. So, let's tell you about Fin.ai, the #1 AI agent for customer service. If you want AI to handle your customer support, go to Fin.ai. And let me also tell you about Vibe.co, where DC brands, B2B startups, and AI companies advertise on streaming TV, pick channels, target audiences, and measure sales just like on Meta. And we can move over to the timeline reaction. NVIDIA is such a big deal. It's not just on the cover of the business section, it's on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. Didn't get the picture, though. Didn't get the picture. The picture is Iran. In Iran, talking about nuclear enrichment is on hold, according to experts. But NVIDIA results help soothe AI fears. The surge in profit comes as the AI industry's appetite for chips continues to grow. Data center hardware, the chips, and networking equipment that NVIDIA sells to AI and cloud computing companies accounted for 91.4% of the quarter's sales. Terrible news for gamers. Like absolutely the worst numbers you could ever see if you're gamers. Maybe that's why they're launching a short attack. Teenage
John would be punching a hole.
I would
in the
be.
wall.
I would be. Maybe the gamers have risen up and they are shorting NVIDIA to try and get them to go back into gaming. Computing demand is growing exponentially. Chief Executive Jensen Huang said the agentic AI inflection point has arrived. With each passing quarter, the pressure grows on NVIDIA, which at a market value of nearly $5 trillion is the world's largest publicly traded company. Is it not just the world's largest company? Is there a larger privately traded company? I don't think so. It must just be the world's largest company. I don't know. I guess you get into crazy definitions of like, does Russia count as a company, since it sort of is all one controlled economy? It is no longer enough for NVIDIA to produce good quarterly results. They have to produce perfect quarterly results, said Daniel Newman.
How could they have done better?
Instead of net income of $43 billion in the quarter, they could have put up $50 billion or $60 billion or $100 billion or $10 trillion, quadrillion. I want to see a quadrillion dollar quarter, please, Jensen. I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. Keep growing. Keep selling these chips.
Gavin Baker gave some thoughts ahead of NVIDIA.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
Great. Shanu pulled some out. The same point hit on by Gavin in Citadel Securities. It's a good one. Gavin said, the world is fundamentally short both watts and wafers, and it may take years to resolve these shortages. The shortage of watts and wafers may prevent an overbuild. Hyperscalers would overbuild if they could, but they simply cannot. My best guess is that we would need roughly 1,000x more compute for the unlikely hypothetical scenario described by Citrini to be remotely possible, and the time it takes us to get there will give humans time to adjust and maximize the many potential benefits of AI. Citadel said, displacing white-collar work would require orders of magnitude more compute intensity than the current level utilization. If automation expands rapidly, demand for compute definitionally rises, pushing up its marginal cost. If the marginal cost of compute rises above the marginal cost of human labor for certain tasks, substitution will not occur, creating a natural economic boundary. This dynamic contrasts sharply with the narratives assuming frictionless replication of intelligence. Even if the algorithms improve recursively, economic deployment remains bounded by physical capital, energy availability, regulatory approvals, and organizational change. Recursive capability does not imply recursive adoption. And do you know what the title of Citadel's response was?
No.
The 2026 Global Intelligence Crisis, calling everyone idiots.
We got to write an intelligence crisis report now. The
2099 this is actually the perfect. Crisis. This is the perfect response. Like very, very detailed. Yeah. This is the same report that I pulled out that the current labor displacement narrative isn't holding up because job postings for software engineers are rising rapidly.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable that Citadel was able to get that report out so fast. Like it dropped, I think, on Monday, right after Citrini went viral on Sunday, or maybe it dropped Tuesday or something like that. Like they got that really fast.
Yeah, it dropped Tuesday.
I mean, that's like a quick turnaround for like a pretty detailed analysis. I thought that they were just reposting.
Let's check the M dashes.
But I mean, the interesting question about like replacing white collar work versus like augmenting and new things is that there's the AI labs are obviously selling into enterprises. That's growing a lot, and the revenues are very real, tens of billions of dollars. But when you look to the other startups that have put up really big ARRs, I'm trying to square, like, Suno just announced that they're selling 300 million in ARR for AI music. And that's a huge number. It's so big, but it doesn't feel like replacement work yet. It feels like it's just an additive new thing. Like there were just a lot of people that wanted to pay $10 a month for a cool app.
Same thing.
That
Same
was
thing.
just
How many non-technical people had an idea for an app? How many people that weren't musicians
are doing
had an
it?
idea for a song?
Yeah,
they never could.
That and
So
then
it's just
and you
unlocking
see
all this latent
and then you see it with like Higgsfield 2 and all the viral loops, and then what's that other one? Not Webflow. There's
TBPN simulator.
no. But the
Capybara simulator.
Lovables one where huge growth, and it feels like, yes, Lovables like going into enterprises and whatnot, but it feels like there's a lot of just like net new software developers, website builders that are joining that platform and building stuff, and it feels very incremental. It does not feel very substitutional to me, and I'm wondering how much of the Suno story translates to the AI lab coding model story as well, and that's certainly what Citadel is hinting at with the increase.
Yeah,
in demand.
Citadel is also showing that new business formation is rapidly expanding. This is from the U.S. Census Bureau. You can see that year over year it is jumping, which we love to see.
Did Clouseau delete this post? The Great Recession of 9:52 a.m. to 11:16 a.m. February. Too bad. Let me tell you about Sentry. Sentry shows developers what's broken and helps them fix it fast. That's why 150,000 organizations use it to keep their apps working. And let me tell you about Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform that grows with your business and lets you sell in seconds online, in store, on mobile, on social, on marketplaces, and now with AI agents. NVIDIA stock is falling because it needed to clear an options wall of $200 a share. So given a lot of folks were long calls into the print and it didn't clear 200, brokers are selling stock to reverse some sold calls. It's that simple. This isn't fundamentals. It's market mechanics, says Gordon Johnson. Very interesting. I don't fully understand all the dynamics that can happen with some of the stuff Jane Street does to move around the market. But you know, we'll see. I would say hold your judgment of NVIDIA for the next quarter to see.
Samsung becomes the first Korean company to reach a $1 trillion market cap.
Pretty remarkable.
Over on companiesmarketcap.com, you can see they are sitting at number 12.
That's your homepage, right?
Yeah, homepage.
Yeah.
Homepage for sure.
Definitely homepage
Just
material.
under Berkshire Hathaway.
Pretty good.
And Broadcom is above that, but Samsung passed Walmart and
Yeah.
Eli Lilly.
I mean, increasingly important in the AI era, right? There doesn't do a lot of fabrication and whatnot. I don't think it's all the TVs. There was some interesting stat about of the $1 trillion companies, isn't Samsung like the most highest margin, the lowest margin or something? There was some post from yesterday we didn't get to, but there was a lot more context on that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ramp Capital
What'd they say?
is sharing, says Patriot, and somebody says, I have OpenClaw sending lowball offers on Zillow all day just to make boomers start panicking. And he says, can you give me an update on the Zillow campaign today? And the Zillow update. Listings contacted today, 372. Average offer, 70% below asking. Positive responses, 0. Negative responses, 270. One response was violent, but I've reported it to the Tampa Bay Police Department. No response, 102. Would you like me to keep making offers?
70% below asking, just you're selling $1 million property. And it's like, how's that? Can you do 300K?
Yeah. Let's
bring in John Palmer.
Let's bring in John Palmer, our surprise.
He's live in the TBPN Ultra Dome.
Coming in
You know him.
with
you
a
love him.
DC.
Nice hat.
John Palmer.
You probably know John Palmer is
As being 1 inch shorter than you.
well, he's the face of leg lengthening surgery right now, right?
No, they were saying I'm the Goldilocks technology brother.
Oh,
So they were
yes.
some people
Okay.
were saying you're a little too tall.
Oh, okay.
And Jordy's tall in his own right, but maybe not
but
quite tall
short
enough. So,
at this table.
yeah,
Yes,
right. So
yes,
they
yes.
wanted
Got it.
someone right in between. So I was contacted by your team and happy
I love
to be
it.
here.
I love it. Well, actually introduce yourself, since for those who've been living under a data center.
Yeah, sure. My name's John Palmer. I was a co-founder and CEO of a company called PartyDAO. Recently announced that we're going to be joining Stripe soon. So that was a awesome 5-year journey. And Also work on a company called Area Technology, which does logo and graphic design for brands like yourself.
Yeah.
Shout out to the new logo and graphics package. And yeah, that's
We are
basically
honored.
me.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to hang and do some timeline with
Sure,
you,
yeah.
as
Let's
that
do
is
it.
a sign of great respect in our culture.
Yeah, what you got, Jordy?
What do we have here?
How do you guys enable sudo for the
Okay,
OpenClaw
Baby Keem.
agent?
Baby Keem
Yes.
says yesterday he hits the timeline. How do you fix OpenClaw internal reasoning leaking? Peter
What does he actually
Steinberger.
mean? Does anyone know what that means? So, yeah, I mean, we read your post about something small is happening. Hilarious.
Yep.
Did you? How much of that was real? Did you ever actually buy a Mac Mini?
So the entire post was tongue in cheek,
Yeah.
but I did, unbeknownst to you, I did actually buy a Mac Mini
Yes.
that week. I did set it up.
You did set it up.
Setting it up was the best 48 hours of my life. Since then, I've used it not very much.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I think the reason I bought it originally was basically to tinker and
Yeah.
see like how real is the hype.
Yep.
I set it up. I installed various plugins and skills. I made sure my setup was super optimized.
Yep.
And basically, I realized the only thing I really needed it for was coding remotely in repos I'm working on or side projects. When I'm out and about on my phone.
On your phone.
And you can already do that with like a million other tools.
Sure.
Actually, like even the Claude app, like you can just connect it to whatever repo. Like
Yep.
you can literally just use Claude code in the app.
Yeah.
And so there was really very little delta that it provided in terms of value beyond what I was already doing.
Yeah.
And I did try some other things. I've been trying to get it to work on Google Sheets and invite people, but the big problem is that the browser use specifically is pretty fragile. And I think it's going to get better. So I don't have buyer's remorse yet. I think that Mac Mini purchase will come in handy, but so far it's like, hey, I want to add someone to a Google Sheet. Can you invite them? And it's like, it opens the modal to share. It types in their email, and it's like, oh, I crashed. Like it can't get past like the share modal of a Google Sheet.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
sure I could optimize my setup further, which I'm looking forward to doing.
Skill
when
issue.
when I'm
Skill
back
issue.
home.
Skill.md
It-
issue.
It probably is a skill issue.
You need to get the skill called skill issue and make sure
Absolutely.
that's running.
Yeah, well-
it is. I don't know if this is like a brilliant PR move from Baby Keem's team or if this is real, but either way, it's really, really funny. But yeah, it was how mainstream this went. Our lawyer got a Mac Mini. He's obviously pretty tapped in, but it's cool to see.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Trey-
joking with you at the gym this morning that we should. I'm excited about a market for bootleg skills.
Oh,
so you don't
yes.
just like you don't want to be the guy just listening to hits on the radio, right? You don't want to just be going on skills.sh and getting the what would Elon do skill. That's what everyone did, and it turns out that one was like actually
Malware?
it was actually malware. So what you want is within your trusted social circle of people that you spend time with IRL, USBs full of markdown files with bootleg skills that you kind of keep internal, and there may even be a market for that, on Craigslist, whatever.
Yeah,
but
and you can say if somebody says, "Hey, can I try the USB? Can I borrow it?" You say, "Well, this skill is kind of like a personal thing. Like, it's not really." meant-
you need to be gatekeeping your skills. That's
Yeah.
like probably the last moat in tech is gatekept skills.
Gatekept
Just
skills.
proprietary markdown files powering the entire global economy.
I do honestly wonder what the conversion rate from buying the Mac Mini to like actually using OpenClaw regularly was, because I think that your post was funny because a lot of people definitely went through that. Like I went and bought a Mac Mini, and it did take me like a week even to unbox it because I just had like a busy life and I didn't have time. And then when I did, it was like, okay, well, I didn't have a monitor at home, so I had to plug it in my TV. And then like the actual setup does take time. Like the 48 hours is not that much of a joke.
And I think on this point, like I do think you need like a solid month at home fixing it. So I've been out of town for a week.
Yeah.
I'm here in LA. I live in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when you hit a wall, it's like, okay, now you probably need to get on the Mac Mini yourself and like add whatever environment variables or keys that you need, set up a new account for it.
Yeah.
And since I haven't been home, like I can't
isn't
really.
it, like, on a more serious note, amazing. Like, isn't like 5 years ago, everyone was posting like, I miss like hacker culture.
Totally, yeah.
I miss the old Silicon Valley, and it feels like this feels like it feels like we're back.
Yeah. A lot of people definitely like opened up the terminal for the first time in years. I mean, this is true for Vibecodes generally. Like a lot of people would step back from just writing code or committing code to any GitHub repo. Like the vibe coding boom. Definitely.
It's funny because I do really prefer the Claude code like user experience to any of the like slicker desktop tools because of a lot of reasons. But it is funny, you're like in the terminal I think there's definitely a major factor where like you feel really cool using the terminal if you're not an engineer,
Yep.
but it's all plain text. Like
Yeah,
you're just
yeah,
speaking
yeah.
in plain English and like it's speaking to you in plain English. But if you're at the airport or in a co-working space, you're like, I look pretty. I look pretty
Aesthetics
sick.
are
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Performative.
that's
Shrey says, Baby Keem just humbled a model. That is actually an exact lyric from Baby Keem's song, Stat.
That's a good
Stat,
reference.
sorry.
It's a bomb.
Deep cut. And someone else said, two phone Baby Keem. That's another lyric,
Yeah.
but two Mac Mini Baby Keem.
And Baby Keem liked it. This is great.
He's very online. We're working on getting Baby Keem on the show to break down his full
skills.
setup.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest questions that I feel like is still sort of unanswered is what are people doing with it? Obviously, if you're working on a startup and you're building a piece of big software and you're committing to it and you're firing off, just managing agents remotely, that feels relevant. Although, yes, you mentioned you can just do that already.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, like I'm definitely not the top person who's like dived into this, right? But I feel a lot more confident, even for coding. I actually don't love doing it with OpenClaw because I've got my reps in with Claude Code. I trust the harness. I trust its ability to like utilize the model in the best way. So even for coding, I'm just using Claude Code remotely anyway. So I'm still waiting to find the use case. I think one interesting thing though is just that like I think prior to this whole OpenClaw wave, the whole idea was like all the AI labs had their like computer use demo, and it was running in like the totally anonymous VM somewhere. And I do think these things are way less useful without your personal data and your personal context and the stuff on your machine. No one solved like trusting it enough security wise. Like my Mac Mini back home, it has its own Gmail, iCloud, whatever, because I'm not going to let it touch my data. But if we do get to the point where you can be confident that it has all the files on your file system and all your accounts, and it's not going to leak anything or like make a dumb mistake sending it to someone. I do think the ability to like do all of your knowledge work on the go, even if it's just like I do the same stuff I do today with AI, I can just do it on the go. Would be a major
This is
leap
the
in
moment
terms of like
idea guys have been waiting for.
Yes. It's the moment idea guys have been waiting for, though. I think. Yeah, and we can riff on that if you want.
And
but
just
a
more
bunch of takes on-
phone-based work, more like, okay, this is something I need to do regularly, turn it into a cron job. Like, the agent should be able to do that.
Yeah, I totally think so.
Also, I was just really excited about this, like, Napster sort of moment. Like, every idea, I was joking with Jordy, like, every idea that I have for, like, something to Vibecode is, like, something that doesn't exist not because of code. Like, if you want a fitness tracker, like, yes, you can vibe code one, but you can also just go to the app and get a free app store and get a free one, or you can pay. Like, there's plenty of products in every category.
Right.
The things that you want but can't get are like something that jumps every paywall, something that gives you videos for free that are behind walls and stuff. And like these walls exist for a reason. And maybe those come down in a world where everyone's like working on open source agents and just sort of showing up as themselves and synthesizing everything. But it feels like it's much harder to actually productize that fully because so many of the things that people want are like, yes, they're possible in open source in the sense that like file sharing was popular.
Totally. Yeah, and even though I will say, like, even though I guess so far, I don't want to say I'm disappointed because it was really a learning thing, but I still... It's never a good bet to be like really bearish on new form factor with like novel tech. So I'm still pretty bullish and excited about like 3-6 months from now what that same Mac Mini could be doing. And it doesn't need the Mac Mini. It could be it could be on whatever service. But I think it's going to get pretty exciting pretty quick.
Yeah. What did Playboy Cardi mean by this? Was he responding to Baby Keem? Is that what we're supposed to read into this? Is he also getting a Mac Mini? It's just the Jeremy Irons in Margin Call? Is that the meme?
This is when he says the music is going to stop. Right?
Oh, okay. So Playboy
Jordan,
Cardi
have you
is
seen
calling the
Margin Call?
top.
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Whoa. Are you a film guy?
I'm not.
Have you seen Borat?
I would never call myself a film guy, but I've seen a lot of movies.
Have you seen Borat?
I have seen Borat.
Okay. You're
That's
top
fine. The
notch.
whole bit is that Jordy hasn't seen enough movies.
Yeah, he hasn't seen any movies, in fact.
Wow, interesting.
RIP the market. We had a good run. The three kinds of stock market days so far. Donald Trump spins the wheel of tariffs and replaces a 5% tariff on Belarusian wheat with a 22.4% tariff on Pakistani jet engines. All stocks lose $2D6. Substack newsletter publishes a story about DoorDash going badly. DoorDash down 862%. Global financial system teeters on the brink. And 3, NVIDIA announces earnings of $100 trillion, beating expectations by 1,000x. Jensen Huang named new king of Earth while his stockholders to form the new permanent ruling class. NVIDIA down 3% on the news. This is the press of the market. Are you a day trader guy?
No.
Are you an investor?
I am an investor.
Okay.
I'm an investor.
How do you think about the market?
Are you a
What's
businessman?
What's your strategy?
I'm an investor. I'm a businessman. I don't know. I think my approach is like pretty smooth brain value investing. Like good fundamentals, I'll buy the stock and hold it for a long time.
Okay.
Definitely not doing a lot of even intra-month trade. It's really like long-term.
You're not like a
holding.
one-man Jane Street.
I'm not a one-man Jane Street.
What about crypto? I feel like if you're working in crypto, even adjacent to crypto, there's just so much alpha from seeing essentially like angel investment style opportunities from someone who's building something that's you just know it's going to be hyped and the token's going to moon.
But the issue is that it's like wildly distracting because as soon as you have enough money,
is that
invest. I think I don't like doing a lot of like individual stock trading because as soon then my attention is gravitating towards this thing that's not actually productive.
Yeah.
And so,
what do you think about it?
I think that's true, and I mean, obviously, if you're trading like perps in crypto, like you better stay on top of it because like there's a moment to exit, or if you just hold it long term, you'll probably get liquidated at some point.
Sure.
So I just don't touch any of that. You're right though that there are, there are like weird things in crypto where like someone or someone's doing a project and they airdrop a token or something like this, and you wake up a week later and it's worth like a month's worth of your salary. So I think that's.
Well, let's talk about Jane
before,
Street because I've seen maybe 10,000 posts kind of blaming them entirely for the just crypto price action over the last couple months. You haven't been able to. Have you been able to find anything that is like definitive? Obviously, the lawsuit came out, and they were like we were going back and forth on it because they pulled funds out of this liquidity pool right after.
Actually, I don't even think they pulled. I don't think they pulled funds. I actually think they sold into the pool, which is, I guess, the same thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they did it 5 minutes after we were saying maybe yesterday or the day before that, okay, it's a public blockchain. So in theory, it's not actually a smoking gun necessarily. But either way.
I'm only as informed as you are in terms of the tweets. I haven't verified anything, but my understanding is that I guess Terra Luna had a lot of money in this pool, and they had planned to pull 180 something million out of it. Yeah. And that I guess the allegation is that Jane Street heard that this was coming before everyone else. That's like the material non-public information. And so then also pulled their money or sold it, like just minutes after Terra did it. And you're right that it's public. So I guess, like, again, not a source of truth here. I'm like relaying secondhand with confidence information that I read on the timeline.
This guy's built for podcasting.
I'm relaying this to you secondhand without confidence. But I guess you could say, hey, it was anyone could see that and they just reacted quickest. But I think. I guess what that would come down to is what are the internal ops on moving those funds like that? I would imagine that a fund like Jane Street with $85 million in this pool isn't just sitting in someone's like hot wallet MetaMask, right?
Yeah.
So
they
probably
would
would have
they could have like some type of protocol or actually software like as some type of protective mechanism, given that they clearly are.
I don't know. A lot of this stuff feels like conspiracy theories. That it feels very similar to the Robin Hood GameStop fiasco, where there was like a lot of conspiracy theories about like Citadel purposely tanking markets and the bailing out hedge funds at various points. And I always thought that was just like people looking for scapegoats and a whole bunch of market actors just playing hardball because that's the default structure. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that comfortable speculating on this either because I'm just like, all right, I saw posts in the timeline. They are interesting though.
DGen CPA says Jane Street got my dad drunk drunk. It made him cheat on my mom when I was 3.
People are hunting for
Deep
scapegoats.
dish. Joyer says Jane Street killed my dog.
That would not be good.
You're just getting a lot of the cathartic, like crypto people who've just been wrecked by these fiascos, like now have a viable scapegoat.
He's
even
not
though-
a bad trader. The market was manipulated by Jane Street.
Yeah.
Tampa International Airport has come out and said, we've seen enough, we've had enough, it's time to ban pajamas
way.
at Tampa International Airport.
Wait, they actually, this is great. Read the next line.
It's really
After successfully banning Crocs and giving everyone the amazing opportunity to experience the world's first Crocs-free airport, it's time to take on an even larger crisis, pajamas at the airport. Is this real? Is this actually Tampa's
it's hard to
airport?
say.
It
What's
says
your
the official
airport
account.
travel?
I was going to ask you guys because you're traveling together a lot. I don't know. It's always a dilemma, right? Do you wear, like I get the pajamas thing because if you wear, your nicest clothes, then to me, when I get to my destination, I'm
Like, now I have
those
to
are on the
filthy-
plane.
yeah.
It's like I'm not unless I have laundry. So for me, I'm rocking like one of my more like mid fits. Like something I don't care about, something lightweight that packs light as well. Because after that travel, like that's not coming out of the bag for the duration.
Well, there's like a contagion theory here because if I'm in a suit but I'm sitting down in a seat that someone in pajamas just sat down in, then I'm getting their pajamas all over my suit.
Yeah.
And so it's just a vicious cycle.
Are you guys business cash on the plane? With the team?
I've actually traveled in suits many times, and it's underrated.
Interesting.
I think. Besides the fact that I've heard that you can get upgraded to first class more easily if you're dressed up. I don't know how apocryphal that is. It happened to
I
me
feel like
once.
that's just people trying to justify.
I think people just they see the suit and they're like, respect. Here, please take my seat. I'm in pajamas. I have the first class seat, but you deserve this. You're
I
doing
think
something
I'd feel
important.
more comfortable with that if I weren't as tall as I was and you are because the suit, more powerful aura, definitely less comfortable, especially if you're in a seat where you're kind of constrained and it's kind of bunching up. It's really not feeling your image.
What about the TSA ban? Have you seen this? TSA shutting down. TSA pre-check.
Pre-check.
This is just like a ploy to increase private jet ownership, right?
Yeah, clearly
Imagine.
we can ask Ken Ritchie about this. The lobby is trying to push people into
It's kicking
charter.
the commercial aviation enjoyers while they're down. It's really brutal. What does Joe Weisenthal say about this? He says, "I'm very pro-conformity, very anti-social behavior in public, and yet I can't understand why people care so much about other people's airport attire."
Just say that you wear
Let
pajamas
people-
to the airport. Joe. Just say
people
that
be
you wear pajamas
comfortable.
to the airport.
Flying is unpleasant enough.
Burger King is launching an AI chatbot that will assess workers' friendliness and will be trained to recognize certain words and phrases like "Welcome to Burger King," "Please," and "Thank you."
It's huge.
The AI will be programmed into workers' headsets, according to The Verge.
I think Chick-fil-A got access to that technology like a decade early.
Yeah.
Because there's a my pleasure. There's a thank you. There's a my
They've
pleasure
been doing
every
it,
time.
Yeah.
Apparently, when McDonald's opened in Russia, there's a quote: "After several days of training about customer service at McDonald's, a young Soviet teenager asked a McDonald's trainer a very serious question: Why do we have to be so nice to the customers? After all, we have the hamburgers and they don't."
They need to be nice to us if they want these hamburgers.
What was it? Did McDonald's launch something as well?
I thought they launched an AI thing too. Wasn't
It's AI
They
is
launched the
coming.
Big Arch.
Well, the Big Arch is the big burger, but then I thought there was. I mean, at this point, every single company has an AI strategy of some kind, and so everyone's putting various stuff. Are you an F1 guy?
He's a tennis guy.
I'm a tennis guy, but I watch like the F1, highlights and recaps. I'm rarely like getting up to watch the race live, but I
Play
follow-
tennis or watch tennis or both?
play and watch both a lot. Yeah.
What does it say? Best friends should be able to apply to jobs together and get hired as a set. New Age hiring looks like 4 to 6 talented people clustering together and building a feature and getting acquired. This does exist.
A horse did post.
Horse.
This, so horse is kind of going off.
Horse has been on a generational run. Literally a horse. Underrated to just. work with your
Riley
friends.
Walls, we talked about this yesterday, joined the labs team at OpenAI.
Very exciting.
We were talking about this kind of offline before the show that it seems like there's a lot of opportunity in like hiring for not just ability, which Riley Walls clearly is incredibly talented and has, you know, an insane, probably like the most elite idea guy, like actually on the pitch playing right now.
Yeah.
And that's hard to say as an idea guy, as idea guys ourselves. But I think like hiring for, you called it like hiring for mind share. I think
I was pointing out obviously both Riley and Pete Steinberger, like both incredible devs. So not trying to take away from that, but it's interesting that like both of those either like hires or acquisitions also come with like a lot of developer mind share. And I think in a world where like if you just run out to the extreme, like software production costs go to zero. So being an engineer, being able to build stuff, that skill becomes more of a commodity than what are you trying to acquire or hire for. Maybe in this interim period, it's like a blend. Okay, like I still want you to be a good engineer, but I also want you to bring me developer mindshare. And I think to that point, it's like, you know, with OpenClaw, for example, it was definitely the best product in the market, but it was open source. Someone could have, you know, forked it, copied it, whatever. But I think it really would have been hard for someone to catch up given how much mindshare it had. It was like the fastest growing open source repo of all time. Yeah. So what you're buying, it's like even though it remains open source and forkable and in like a foundation and other people could build it, the reason you buy Pete, in addition to him being a great developer and, you know, idea guy, whatever, is just that like he's bringing the mind share of all the people who definitely follow him, have notifications on for all his posts. They're following all the updates because he's bringing
and
mind
they're
share
invested.
to OpenAI.
They probably spent few hundred, you know, $600 or something like that on a Mac Mini.
Some sort of hardware device to run the model.
Noah Smith is sharing the job postings for software engineers have picked up since vibe coding became a thing. They had been declining until the early part of last year, actually. And again, this is why, I mean, we've talked about this over and over and over. I feel like there's this like two different narratives being spread on Instagram. It's just like this like labor displacement narrative going super, super, super hard. And then over here, like it's just an entirely different world.
Yeah, I mean,
Tyler, how do you interpret the software engineering number? Have we talked about this yet?
Yeah, I mean, so I think I broadly agree. Like, so when Dario went on Dorkesh, he had this take where it's like, you go from AI doing 90% of like coding to 100%, and then it goes from 90% of like all suite tasks to 100%. And so when you're kind of in the interim period, like engineers get super, super productive. Yeah. But then there's a point where it's like actually like, it's like instead of being super high leverage because the AI is doing 99%, now the AI is doing 100%, and it's actually like it just kind of instantly goes to zero. Yeah. So like I think you should imagine that like you should see a lot of like hiring because everyone wants like a vibe coder at the company. But then at some point vibe coding becomes so easy that like you don't need any like special talent to be able to do it. And then you just have the random person.
I mean, even in
so
that
basically,
scenario,
if one day you're not sitting at your desk, you're like you're kind of the vibe coder in the coal mine, canary.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I do wonder about like because there is a world where software engineering postings and jobs are substitutive for other roles. Like you can have someone whose job is like a business analyst and every day they open Excel and crunch some numbers, and then you could hire a software engineer to automate that task 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and a lot of companies did. And if vibe coding sort of eats into other things, you could see the rest of it's like the white collar work could go away because the software engineers are doing it. And then the bigger question is like you're sort of jumping ahead to like a full unemployment scenario where no one has a job. But in the world where there are like a few jobs, I keep thinking about this thing that Pavel Asparuhov said where he was like, like everyone, if the software engineering jobs go away, like get ready to compete with software engineers in every category because they're going to learn financial analysis. They're going to learn to trade. They're going to learn to sell. They're going to learn all these things. And if they're just like smart and hardworking people and they have AI tools both helping them upskill, reskill, and shift and do whatever they need to in the new role. Like you'll just those people will still be employed. They'll just be in a different part of the economy. So. I don't know.
Rachel Carton, who's coming on the show soon, says by more than a 3-to-1 margin, young Americans believe AI will take away opportunities. There's a lot of uncertainty surrounding AI, especially among the youth. Using it as a joke, like Liquid Death, Gucci, or Equinox have tried, is not a wise marketing strategy. The blowback around Gucci was predictable, but it was also strange that they chose to use an image that looked like it was out of GTA, too. Like
really?
It was just like not even trying to look like one of the images that we looked at looked like
I thought that one looked great.
a normal photograph and looked cool, and the other one like was like a GTA style characters, which really didn't hit.
Interesting.
Jira Ticket says, but sir, that's rage bait. If you do this, you'll slopify the timeline, and you're posting something that you know has no value. We are selling engagement to willing scrollers at the current fair algorithm parameters. Avi Schiffman had was certainly.
Have you ever talked to an AI just like as like a being or like a friend or like it just is like any like non-productivity
Like earnestly,
yeah, just like chatting back and forth with it, not for any specific business purpose.
Have you ever fallen in love?
No, I really haven't. Earnestly, I haven't really given that. I have like to test it out.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like wholeheartedly engaging.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know if it's like a personality thing or maybe I'm just too busy or something, but I've never been like I will if I'm in a video game, I'll go talk to an NPC on a side quest.
For hours.
I'm down to explore the story that's there, but for some reason it just hasn't clicked with me.
I don't know. I haven't even done that. Like even when I was playing like MMOs back in the day, like I feel like I would always just be like skipping dialogue.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
I actually do skip a lot.
I don't know.
Dialogue.
It's hard to really buy into it. I think maybe a good the synthesis of that would be I would be down to play like a new Elder Scrolls game where there are like really good AI models behind the characters.
Yeah.
Then I'd be exploring it because like I've decided to suspend disbelief to play this game. So while I'm in this game, let me do it. But in my real life, I'm not like having a heart-to-heart with the AI. It's
next time you call me and I don't pick up, go into ChatGPT and say, pretend you're Jordy. Let's talk about the day's work.
I do think that's like more interesting. Again, not like maybe not as a heart to heart, but like
I mean, there's companies that do that. Like a AI version of an influencer and whatnot, like that. Those things.
I mean, you guys have like hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of live show now. You could probably get a pretty good Jordy model.
That's what I'm
saying. And if you were like trying to riff on show planning, like it would actually functionally be pretty good. But
no, I just have no desire for it. I don't know.
Give it a shot, John.
Maybe.
I do think this is an interesting take on the OpenClaw style stuff where like I think there's a world where, again, security is like a big asterisk here, but like if I had OpenClaw, okay, so I've been riffing on this idea for a while that I'm just a JPT5 client. So like ChatGPT has GPT5, and I'm John Palmer, so I'm John Palmer Transformer. I'm JPT5, and I'm just a client for JPT5, which is my brain. And so like you guys,
it's kind of like a harness.
Yeah, Well, this is the clothes of the harness, and the brain is the model, and my mouth is the client. I don't know. So in that. Anyway, I won't go into the whole riff, but I guess like so my Mac Mini I named JPT5, and hypothetically, if I could train it on like all the writing and speaking I've ever done, plus my whole file system, and it knew like what I do on my computer, one version of that is it's single player. It's my OpenClaw. I use it to do my tasks, but I'm really interested in like the multiplayer. Again, this is the security. Security's not ready for this yet, but if I had my Mac Mini and either humans like yourselves could really go like, hey, I need John for something. I know he did that one project and all the files are probably on his computer. Could I go micropay his agent and be like, yo, I need help researching this crypto thing that you did, whatever. And if my agent could actually give you, it's like you're not accessing the same one size fits all model that everyone has. You're accessing, that model with some custom, context and prompting or whatever. And that would be cool. So like, you have access to Jordy anyway, but for someone who doesn't, if that random third party out there wanted to riff with Jordy on a marketing idea, it'd be cool if they actually could, and you had set up that model. It wasn't, Opus 4.6 trying to replicate you, but it was like all your insider info. It's kind of cool. And then, the agents could do it to each other. Now JPT5 could be talking to JHT5, and they could be, like we could be hanging IRL and our models could be hanging back at home, like kind of like a kid's play date. Like my model's like hanging out with your model. They like, hey, let's get John involved. They go get John Coogan's. So it's kind of a fun.
I mean, there's a take on that where it's like that's dystopian or something, but that's not how I feel. I just feel like I'm just like bored.
We go brainstorm for an hour on some
Yeah.
concept, and then we come home and we find out our models cooked up something way better. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at the Claude.
I think it's
blog.
actually possible, especially if you were like, you bring the original idea and then you say like, I want John Palmer GPT to talk with John Coogan GPT about this idea and like come back with a bunch of ideas. It will work a lot better for someone like John, who has spoken on the internet for hundreds of hours.
There's so much that I don't say on the mic.
Yeah.
Then that's why you actually want to talk to me.
It'd be cool if the model could like decide to price its own services and negotiate with whatever model's hiring it. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever. It's
Avi Schiffman dropped user interview number 3. We're not going to play the video because it's kind of sad, but Gary Tan said, "This is not the happy demo path. Apple or Google would never make this one of their launch videos. It's not what you will hear about in a TED Talk, but it's real. AI doesn't get tired, doesn't ghost. A lot to think about with this one." Yeah, Avi continues to find new ways to break through the noise, but in some ways, like even though this video has been, it feels somewhat dystopian. You know, this is someone who's struggling with mental health, like actually gets in an accident in the video. It does feel like the most kind of real, raw, experience of AI companionship in this form factor.
Yeah, it's a reflection on like. Do you remember his interaction with Paul Graham very early on? He was like, "I'm building like a hardware device for AI." He put out like some very vague post about his plans, and everyone was like, "This is impossible. Like Apple will crush you. They have the supply chain, they have the distribution, they have brand. Like you will never win in this category." And Paul Graham told him like, in order to win, you have to do things that Apple would never do and be counter-positioned. And so at one point he was thinking about doing something that looked like very organic, no smooth lines, no rounded edges, crazy colors that Apple wouldn't pick, like just really moving outside of their design language so you wouldn't feel like that. And then, yeah, this type of messaging is certainly in line with like the anti-Apple.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where the company goes. People were so bearish on that ad campaign. We were very surprised by how broad the billboard campaign was. But
They got the Heineken response.
Did Heineken
pretty
dunk on that?
So Heineken also just came out with a new campaign that I want your guys' reaction to. I don't know where exactly it is, but it seems to be global. And it's just like a graphic of a voice note, and it says, the campaign is, "Don't send a WhatsApp note. It could have been a beer in person." So they're like taking like the total like real world approach, which I think is.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think you had Matt Zeitlin on the show recently, and he and I play in a pretty regular like friends poker game.
Oh, really?
Not big money. It's really like a social hang, but it's funny because like everyone's like multiple people have wives who are like, "Why are you going to play poker? That's degen. Are you losing money? Whatever." But I mean, I had a post a while back that's like, in the current like casino economy between like prediction markets, meme coins, like crypto trading, whatever, like an in-person poker game with your friends is like the most wholesome. So, like if you're going to gamble and lose like $100, go do it with your friends over 4 hours, like having a drink and hanging out. And you're solving the male loneliness crisis.
I've heard the same argument
so
made for cigar nights.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
like
take
cigars obviously bad for you, but getting together with friends and actually maintaining social, ties is probably really good for long-term health.
It's pretty great, honestly. And if you play a regular poker game, even with strangers that you only knew through this game originally, like 6 months out, you've logged like so many hours just like hanging out that it's like a pretty great. Like wholesome vibe,
I should get into it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big poker
If you're ever in New
guy.
York, we can have you guys.
Okay, let me do some ads. Let me tell you about Gemini 3.1 Pro. Gemini 3.1 Pro is here with a more capable baseline. It's great for super complex tasks like visualizing difficult concepts, synthesizing data into a single view, or bringing creative projects to life. And let me also tell you about Public.com. I know, Plaid. Plaid powers the apps you use to spend, save, borrow, and invest, securely connecting bank accounts to move money, fight fraud, and improve lending now with AI.
Dan Romero says, I spent 5 years cloning an
this is
existing
good.
app with a network effect. Building the software is not the hard part. And he was building this app for a very specific sub-community and was able to get a massive amount of attention. So I think this is like a good, clear rebuttal of at least that one part of the Citrini piece.
Yeah, I think I had posted a while back about how, like, again, same thing, like software costs go to zero. Everyone's like, oh, yes, like I'm an idea guy. I'm going to be crushing it now because now I can just use Cloud Code and like build whatever I want. But it's like if you just make one more logical leap, it's like, okay, everyone has that now. So if you're just like building your ideas, like if you're building vibe-coded apps for consumers, you're actually in a way more competitive space than it's ever been. So I actually think it's almost more like, not to riff on the idea guy thing too long, but like actually being paid like a salary to be an idea guy or like making good income to be an idea guy will actually be like a very privileged position where only companies that have like real moats and monopolies on distribution will actually be able to hire like people whose job it is to just think on the idea. Because if you have a good idea and you ship it, you know people will use it because you've already got the distribution. Versus even if you've got a great idea and you can vibe code it up, if you're in this like sea of vibe coders, like producing way more apps.
Well, the other thing is there are certain idea guys throughout history that thrives because they had a unique insight. They brought it to market. They executed pretty well, but it just was a great idea at the right time, and so it got traction, attracted great people, and things like that. And in a world where like an idea can be made, and we've seen this with I think a bunch of marketing on X over the last year, where if somebody has like a good style of launch video, it will be immediately replicated within a month.
Yeah.
And then it will become just kind of like flooded and the meta will kind of die quickly. And so in a world where like ideas are like cheaper than ever, is it really just about like idea guys getting lapped by people that are great at executing? And it's like, yeah, you had this great idea, you shipped it, someone else saw that and it's like, that's a great idea. I'm going to ship it today and then I'm just going to out execute you.
Someone should launch their startup with a congressional testimony. That would be a great Aura farm. If you just, the first time you're ever seeing about this company, they're just answering questions and getting grilled by Congress people about what their plans are. It's always like typically the top of the mountain, like Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook for decade. Then he starts getting called to testify. Then he starts getting sued. But if you just come out the gate, day one,
Augustus was kind of
he was kind of doing
he was like
was
half the time in El Segundo, half the time on the road.
he
testifying.
wasn't being called to testify. He was like, standing up.
Oh, I know, but he's kind of doing
but
your bit.
Yeah, it kind of did work like that. It's very funny. Anyway, let me tell you about Figma. Ship the best version, not the first one, with Figma. Introducing Cloud Code to Figma. Explore more options. Push ideas further.
We got new Apple products.
What's coming out?
This coming week.
Oh yeah.
We don't know exactly. It
has the Apple logo on it though. We know that.
We do know that.
The rumors
alert.
touchscreen Mac.
Oh, that's why
gesture?
that's why they're touching it.
Are you guys? How are you guys thinking about the touchscreen Mac? Because one of my least favorite things in the workplace is when people put their fingers on my screen. It makes my blood boil.
Yeah.
And so maybe they have some new, like, are they, I could see Apple at this point, they've got the iPhone sock. They could have like a little attachment that has like a little, like a
cleaner,
little spray bottle, like an Apple spray bottle.
They could have a magnetized Roomba and you put it on, you stick it to your screen while you walk away and it drives around and identifies the,
like a
Zamboni.
Like a Zamboni.
Like a Zamboni.
So messy.
The Apple Zamboni.
I don't know.
You want to create the problem and then have the product that solves the problem in the same launch. So touchscreen Mac with the Roomba.
Yeah, that's such an odd choice because I feel like the whole humanity has gone down the path of like the touchscreen laptop, and it's been available for years, maybe over a decade, and I just feel like it's never really broken through. And if we were at least seeing like, oh yeah, well, like obviously like 80% of PC users have a touchscreen, and it's clearly a dominant form factor.
Yeah, it's like the reason for the touchscreen is like I'm away from my computer. I can't carry around a dedicated keyboard and mouse, so I guess I just have to figure out a way to use the screen for everything. But, it's not superior if I have room on my desk for a keyboard. I'm always going to be faster than the keyboard.
Doing the like, it's gonna look very maybe it's better for people that aren't as tech native. Like I can imagine like a maybe older family member, like wanting to zoom in on a photo, and maybe it's more native to them to kind of like use the kind of like pinch functionality.
Yeah, it feels hard though. Like if it's again, I don't even know if this is what they're releasing, but if it's on a laptop, like I actually kind of have to like reach past the keyboard. It seems like a far reach to like if you're like even keeping your arm held like raised like this for more than like 30 seconds would get, I think, tiring for most people anyway.
It's like, because it just looks like.
Well, they're making the Mac Mini in the USA. They came out with that announcement.
It's going to Houston, right?
And I will be, getting rid of my current Mac Mini and buying
Getting the
USA.
American made, the USA made in the USA.
Of course.
Yeah.
Running Kimi 2.5 on my made in the USA Mac Mini.
Well, we have some videos to watch, but we don't have IEMs for you, so we should probably let you go get back to the rest of your day. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we will see you soon. Let me tell you about Okta. Okta helps you assign every AI agent a trusted identity so you get the power of AI without the risk. Secure any agent, secure every agent with Okta. And let me also tell you about Console. Console builds AI agents that automate 70% of IT, HR, and finance support, giving employees instant resolution for access requests and password resets. Let's flip through some of the videos that we missed because there are some good ones in
TSMC's plant in Arizona, which is spread over 1,000 acres, is expected to cost $165 billion.
I thought they already had a TSMC Arizona up and running. I guess they're expanding it to the tune of $165 billion.
It's still coming online.
I wonder when. What day is this actually going to go live?
Got to send Tyler over there.
Oh yeah. Won't you be in the area soon? Don't want to dox your weekend plans.
Later today.
Later today.
Maybe I should check it out.
Go check it out. Get arrested for trespassing. We forgot to play this AI video of the AI leaders, Elon Musk and Sam Altman as old men. Did you want to watch this?
Let's pull it up.
This was a very, very bizarre video.
Extremely viral over on Instagram.
Yes. Oh yeah. It's in section E here. Let me tell you about Cisco, critical infrastructure for the AI era. Unlock seamless real-time experiences and new value with Cisco. It features Energym, move the world. Here we go.
No purpose, but they had a lot of time on their hands.
The less people
Can you start
actually
over?
did physical work,
The
the more they
You can't restart videos on Instagram.
had lost their jobs.
They had no money, no purpose, but they had
The
a
visual
lot of time.
fidelity is just another level up. I don't know if this is
the more they
the
wanted
latest
to appear
Chinese
as if
model,
they
but
did.
it's
What
really
if we
good.
could use the energy of humans to power the machines that took away their jobs?
The voices
The voices are a little odd, yeah. A little. They're still in the uncanny valley, but the actual video is really strong.
Solved our need.
It's deeply wrong to put our technology leaders
purpose.
like this. Should have
Yes.
made them look like bodybuilders if you're going to do this.
Yes,
But it is a funny bit.
Disturbing. Anthropic's going into consumer now. Is that right? Adam Feldman joined.
I
recently joined Anthropic to lead consumer product, and we're growing. Our goal is to build AI that millions of people will use every day to think better, create more, and accomplish what matters to them. A bit biased here, but this is the most interesting opportunity.
So
in the world.
I back in Q4,
Yeah.
I was expecting that they would care a lot more about that they cared more about consumer that they were letting on. I think like when if you look at their actions this week, you see that when they were lagging, they were like really leading with safety, and now that coding is a competitive market, they're obviously dialing some of that back. And when they had actually zero consumer adoption or functionally zero consumer adoption, they didn't care about consumer. But if you look at Keep Thinking campaign, you look at the Super Bowl campaign, you don't do these things unless you care somewhat really about consumer.
It all bleeds together anyway. And so it seems like it's the end of the road for all the AI companies, that they have some sort of consumer footprint. It's hard to be that deep. And when you think of like the pure plays, I mean, even Amazon, I mean, they sell a ton of tokens through AWS, but then they also have Rufus because they need to vend the AI into their distribution, into their platforms. And we've seen Llama be vended into Instagram and WhatsApp and all the different consumer interfaces that people use every day, and people will use those for business contexts in consumer apps. Gmail became dominant in consumer and businesses all over the world because there's a huge blend that happens as people work both, professionally in their personal lives and vice versa. They do work when they're at home and all sorts of different stuff.
Raghav has some breaking news. Apple has acquired the rights from Netflix to air Drive to Survive Season 8 on Apple TV Plus. You were expecting something like this over a year ago at this point. That if you're going to be spending all this money on the F1 movie and the F1 streaming rights, you want to actually be the home of Formula One. Yeah,
it's sort of like content vertical integration. Like you want to be able to take the viewer on this journey from novice. So you watch the F1 movie, which has Brad Pitt in it, and it's just super accessible, and anyone can throw it on and have a good time, even if you're not an F1 fan. You can watch the F1 movie and know, and like in the movie, there's a voiceover that explains all the mechanics of how the sport works. And so you learn and you come out of that saying, okay, I'm kind of interested. Then you could watch Drive to Survive, and then you could actually watch the
Trey says,
race.
Apple should sponsor Cadillac F1. I get the conflict, but also Penske owns IndyCar and has a team. Well, it's funny because
what would the conflict be? Oh, because they're airing it?
Yeah,
so like the feed would cut to them more.
It feels separate enough.
Yeah,
but remember, I had a pretty viral post last year. I forget. I was I think quoting Jen Mochi and saying like Apple's like clearly run out of like ideas, and obviously that's not fully not true.
Sure.
But I was saying that they should just have a Formula One team.
Yeah.
And
should be like, you wanted the Apple car? This is the Apple car.
Yeah.
It's an F1 car.
Because like a one car on the pitch that just has
on
the track that has grid, yeah, 3 fingers. One car out there that's just all white.
It'd be very cool.
It would go extremely hard.
No one's really doing white in F1.
Like no logos.
Yeah. Oh, no logos at all.
Yeah.
Like not even an
just
Apple logo.
Just silver, like silver.
Just like perfect pearlescent white or something. That would be very, very cool.
Would be insane.
Let me tell you about 11 Labs. Build intelligent, real-time conversational agents. Reimagine human technology interaction with 11 Labs. And let me also tell you about Turbo Puffer. Serverless vector and full text search, built from first principles on object storage, fast, 10x cheaper.
Semi-analysis says Micron's $100 billion mega fab in New York is at risk of delay due to just 6 concerned citizens and their frivolous lawsuit.
Whoa.
The project has already taken an absurd 1,200 days between announcement and groundbreaking. Competitors overseas who began at the same time now have built and working fabs. Micron spent 612 days on the environmental impact study, including a 45-day public input period. Yet hours before groundbreaking, they were hit with a lawsuit calling the process unnecessarily rushed. 612 days on an environmental study. Comments from local borders on NIMBY parity. We are not trying to stop any progress, but we don't want this just bulldozed into our area. This is a real quote. The lawsuit itself didn't come from a ground roots uprising. A California-based workers' rights group went door-to-door in New York seeking plaintiffs. They eventually found just 6 people willing to sign on, but that's enough to potentially halt the project. That is so insane. A Syracuse local news outlet's excellent reporting on the group behind the lawsuit. Neighbors for a Better Micron found that before the suit was filed, the group had never held a meeting or a vote. Some members didn't even know who the others were. One member of the suit, who, as a former lawyer, you might expect to be smart, says that Syracuse has the highest child poverty rate in the country. What is Micron doing about that? Anyone can agree it's a worthy cause, but do we really think an advanced memory semiconductor manufacturer is the right vehicle to solve it? Question mark. To be fair, it is legitimate to consider the environmental impacts of a fab. They are large industrial projects that can be harmful if not built and operated safely, but these last-minute injunctions are rent-seeking, not legitimate environmental concern. We estimate the lawsuits will cost $100 to $500 million to settle, despite the fact that they should be thrown out as frivolous. Ultimately, Micron has probably budgeted for it as a small fraction of a $100 billion project. Still, there is a non-zero chance these 6 concerned citizens delay the entire thing. If the U.S. wants to compete in strategic technologies like Micron's project, which produces a key ingredient in the AI supply chain, it must reduce frivolous rent-seeking litigation. AI tools will only empower these people as it trivializes nitpicking on complex rules and 10,000-page documents. That is, really wild. Like, this feels, this feels like any state should be generally excited about having a $100 billion project, which will undoubtedly generate hundreds of millions of, and someday billions of tax revenue. But Patrick says NIMBYs are being replaced with bananas. Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone.
Oh, okay. Bananas. The Citrini scenario is now on Kalshi. There's a 12% chance that the Citrini scenario happens, which of course is the S&P falling. It's interesting. 12% feels high, but the rules summary is fascinating here on this market. If at least 3 of these happen, it resolves to yes. So unemployment rate exceeds 10%. S&P declines more than 30%. Zillow home index value declines more than 10% year over year in any of New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Houston, or Phoenix. Labor share of gross domestic income falls below 50%. Inflation falls below 0% in any monthly release. And if any of those happen before July of 2028, the market resolves to yes. So sort of interesting because there's a whole bunch of different scenarios where something could happen that's not AI related that could trigger one of those. I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal today about expats. The number of Americans that are retiring abroad is just increasing. And it doesn't really have anything to do with AI. It doesn't really have anything to do with immigration policy. It's just sort of like Americans are wealthy, the dollar is strong, and so they want to go travel, and the internet makes it easier to go live in a different country and hang out and stay on the beach. And so that number has been climbing. And so if that climbs a lot and people leave America but they stay employed and they leave before they're retired, like that could lead to lower unemployment because the labor pool's lower. There's a whole bunch of different things that could happen that could adjust these things. But it's still interesting because, on the face of it, unless there's some weird alternative scenario, none of these would be particularly good. And fortunately, it's still sitting pretty low at just 11.6% chance, but probably worth following. Let me tell you about Lambda. Lambda is the superintelligence cloud, building AI supercomputers for training and inference that scale from 1 GPU to hundreds of thousands.
Some breaking news.
What else is breaking news?
This was sent to me by Jay Yarrow. Formerly was at CNBC for quite a long time. Fortune is launching a daily business show, according to Adweek, the latest in a series of publishers, including The Guardian, to do so. Mark Stenberg over at Adweek says this initiative is likely an attempt to imitate the success seen by other daily business programs, such as TBPN.
No way.
So if you want to make the Fortune version of TBPN, there's a role. They're hiring a showrunner for a daily show.
Do you think they've acquired the tap water required to make that show work?
Yeah, we got to remind people that. You want to remind people right now?
Yeah. So I mean, if you're going to clone TBPN or do something that's inspired by TBPN, we do have a terms of service. So if you've ever watched the show, you've actually technically agreed to this, and buried in the terms of service is is an agreement that if you clone the show or copy a piece of the show or rip off the show or even are just inspired by the show, it's fine as long as on your first episode you drink a glass of tap water. Just one glass of tap water. Otherwise, like, I think the gods might curse you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's really just a nod. It's a sign of.
and also, if you don't do it, you are legally required to pay us 100% of your revenue forever.
Yeah.
But that's like a minor thing. The bigger thing is the tap water. Just focus on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have our first guest of the show in the Restream waiting room. Let me tell you about MongoDB. What's the only thing faster than the AI market? Your business on MongoDB. Don't just build AI, own the data platform that powers it. And without further ado, we have Sam.
What's
Welcome to
going
the
on?
show. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing?
Tonight.
Thank
We
you
got
so much for joining.
Vacuum guy. How's your week been? Were you expecting to go this viral?
Well, not really, because it's been like 10 days. I discovered the bridge.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Is pop up now?
Yeah.
Wait, how many? You said? Did you say 2
20
years?
days. No, 20 days. Sorry.
20 days. 20 days. Okay, break down.
Yeah.
Why'd you start hacking on your DJI vacuum? Give us the full kind of chain of events.
Okay. Well, I don't even try to hack it. It was just let's say side project. When I saw my little guy cleaning my living room and me playing on my PS5, my brain just makes some association stuff, and I was like, okay, what if I could drive my boy with my PS5 controller?
Yeah.
So what I did, I take the DJI app, because DJI have a like official app called DJI Home, and I try to understand what's happened when my RoboVac moves. When it goes straight, when it goes to left, and turn right. Check the data between my vacuum and DJI Cloud, and try to replicate it with my PS5 controller. And after maybe 1 hour, I have something working. Like I could drive it with my PS5 controller, but I want to go like further. Like if my little guy have less than 30% of battery, I want to hear him cry. So
You feel pain.
So I need to try the battery status, like the percentage of my battery. So I continue my reverse engineering of the DJI Home app and find out how to do it, how to ask the battery status. I do it, but what I received is not like, oh, your robot is like 80% of battery. I got tons of data, like a lot of battery status. I didn't understand. So I take this big chunk of data. It was a lot. I open my Cloud Code, send the file, and just asking him like what's going on, explain him what I'm trying to do, and if there's something I did wrong, like why I have this data. And he answered to me like, okay, it's not just your device. There are thousands of others. So I take a little bit of time to process this. Well, because it's AI, of course, I double check. I try to manual read like my big log file, the data from the vacuum sent back to me when I asked it about the battery status. And yeah, it wasn't just my device. So for me, it was like, okay, I have a key, my own user key. Let me control my robot. It looks like my key, I can open other doors than mine. So my software, the software I built to control my robot and also try the full stream video and microphone from the vacuum. I have like some environment variable, like the thing you change just to make your software working with another device. So I have two stuff, my key and the serial number of the device. So I was just like, okay, I just need to change the device a serial number and put another one, and maybe it's gonna work. It's happened that I have a friend who is as stupid as me to buy this vacuum. I just asked him his serial number.
Yeah.
So he gave it to me, performed some tests, and yes, everything worked. I saw everything. I hear him, and I can control him. To control his robot with a really low latency, which is great. And so it was like a little bit shocked about what we saw. So I started to check the DJI Vibecodes program. They have one,
Yeah.
but everything is in Chinese when you go to the website. I was a little bit confused, like it's just for Chinese citizen, and even the reward it was in the local currency of China. So I just tweet about it, like, hey, I'm not a Chinese citizen, can I apply for it? I didn't have like any answer, so I applied, but in English to the Vibecodes program, and no one answered to me. And I was
They're like, you weren't supposed to. That's not a bug.
Yes, that's a feature.
It seems like it.
So I was a little bit frustrated about it. So I started live tweeting about what I discovered. I didn't show how I did. I just show some data I can have, data I can retrieve from DJI Cloud. They finally answered to me, but just because I harassed them on Twitter by DJI, and they said, okay, thank you. We're gonna check that and be back to you as soon as possible. They come back to me probably one day after, telling me, okay, we saw the issue and we fix it. Thank you for everything. Blah, blah, blah. But they didn't fix the problem.
Wait, so by this point, you have full access and control over 7,000 individual devices?
To be more precise, it was 7,000 vacuum and 3,000 DJI power. It's like their battery pack or something like that, and connected to internet apparently because I have access to it. But yeah, it was around 10,000 devices.
And how did you get the serial numbers for those again? I imagine that they've sold more than 7,000. So what made the ones that actually were showing up for you different than the ones that you couldn't access?
Can you repeat or rephrase it? Sorry.
So I understand how you had your serial number and your key, which turned out to be the master key. And your friend sent you his serial number, and then you were able to control his robot vacuum cleaner. But if I have one of these and you don't know my serial number, how do you get access to it?
Unfortunately, DJI gave it to me without any keys. Like if I take my own user key and plug it to the MQTT protocol of DJI, I see everything. So I didn't have to guess the serial number of everyone. I just saw the data like clear. Device x66 start cleaning, for example.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to hack, unencrypt, or crack anything. Everything was clear. And so, sorry, excuse me.
No. It's just fascinating that that all of that data was just, because that's actually two different vulnerabilities. Like one is the network topology and the other is the access key. And you would expect that both would be locked down, or at least one. But the fact that both of them were available to you is very disconcerting.
Yes, and so just after that,
after
I'm not going to say they lie about fixing it and not fixing it, but they probably just fix some stuff, but not everything. I was talking with The Verge, who start to contact me when I live tweeting what I discovered. So we plan to do a demo. And During the time we planned to do it and the real demo, it's like 2 days happened. And during this time, DJI released another fix, which worked. But like not really. It's worked to, I can retrieve anymore the camera, the stream video. I can retrieve the microphone from other users. It's like protected now. And during the demo, I still have access to all of others' data. I still have access to the 3D map plan, map pro plan, sorry, because this vacuum have tons of sensors, and they need like a 3D map of where you live to make sure you know where to go when you need to clean. So I still got this data, and and the full telemetric system of DJI. We performed the demo with the Verge, and 1 day after, no more access to others' data. Everything was fixed.
Well, what a remarkable story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, how do you think that how much confidence does this give you that like the DJI drones that they've sold millions of could have? Do you think they're more locked down, or do you think this could be kind of a company-wide issue?
I don't know, but the last thing about the story, they still have 2 major issues. We decided with the Verge to not disclose it publicly because it's kind of bad, and I can't talk a lot about it. We try to play a fair game with the company. Like, okay, we give you a little bit of time. We know this breach is not as easy to fix as the first one, but they still have 2 major issues. And indirectly, like really indirectly, you can still have access to stream video from other users.
That's crazy.
That's so insane. Do you know any idea how many of these vacuums they've actually sold? Do they publish any of that data?
7,000.
So they've only sold 7,000.
So you got access to all of
I was
them.
assuming that you had only gotten access to a kind of like a subsection.
It seems like
of
you got
the
them all.
units.
You got them all.
They didn't separate per region. It was like a whole bucket, like a bucket with the whole devices.
It's a new product, and there aren't that many out there. So, absolutely wild.
It's just insane. I hope that they're contacting customers who have them in their homes and letting them know that, hey, by the way,
might have been spied on by some random
anybody on the entire planet.
It's a data breach. It's like
yeah.
Because unless they can prove that you were the first and only person to ever access to this, and you didn't go further, then they have an unknown liability here that they should disclose. So, will be very interesting to see how they respond. But thank you for the citizen journalism, the hacktivism.
Yeah, it sounds like you're handling it in the right way, and looking forward to whatever you discover next.
Yes.
We'll be following along. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, of course.
Have a great rest of your day.
Cheers.
We'll talk to you soon. Let me tell you about Phantom Cash. Fund your wallet without exchanges or middlemen, and spend with the Phantom Card. And let me also tell you about Cognition. They're the makers of Devon, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your AI engineering team. And without further ado, we have Ken Ritchie, the chairman of FleckJet, here at the TBPN.
What's going on?
Good to meet you.
Hey, John. Hi, Jordy. How are you?
We're fantastic.
Doing fantastic. We've been looking forward to this.
Thanks so much for taking the time to come chat with us. I would love to start with your early career because do I have it right that you actually served in the Air Force?
Yes, I went into the Air Force through the ROTC program in the late 70s.
Wow.
It wasn't that hard to get into the Air Force then. The Vietnam War was still active in people's rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And I actually probably wouldn't have been able to go to college if it wasn't for the ROTC program. So it wasn't that I had this strong desire to be in the Air Force, but I did love to fly. And it actually helped me get through college.
That's amazing. So,
interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was going to say it was interesting. I always wanted to go to the University of Notre Dame, and I was going up for a visit, and I heard my parents. We lived in a very small house, thin walls, and I heard my parents talking about they couldn't afford it. And they said, who's going to tell them we can't afford to send them to school? So I went to my visit, and I said, is there any financial available? And they said, well, you kind of missed the window for that. But if you were interested in the military, you could go down and enroll in ROTC. So I went down there on a Saturday that was closed, but I decided for whatever reason I wanted to be a Navy pilot. I'm standing at the Navy ROTC trying to copy down the number, on the old rotary phones. And somebody taps me on the shoulder and they said, can I help you? And I said, well, I'm an incoming freshman and I'd like to fly. And I'm thinking of joining the Navy ROTC. And he looks at me and he says, you sure you've been admitted to Notre Dame, son? Because the Navy has boats and the Air Force has jets. So I'm Colonel Muller. I'm head of the Air Force detachment. Why don't you become an Air Force pilot? And that's how I ended up in the Air Force.
That's amazing. Wait, so you were flying before college. What was the context of that? Or you were interested in flying?
No. I learned to fly through what was called the FIP program, which was an instructional program through the Air Force.
Okay. And then, so I don't know how long you were in the Air Force, but it sounded like when you got out, you had the opportunity to buy a company for a very low amount of money. And I want to know the anatomy of that deal and go a little bit further than you've talked about before, because it sounds like one of the most fascinating deals that maybe doesn't happen anymore, or maybe financial engineering still exists like this. But I'd love to know sort of, when did your business career start? What happened after you left the Air Force?
Well, I always say that I never really identified myself as a businessman. I love to fly. I loved aviation. And, people can go into business because they love business. And those guys could run a candy store. They could run an insurance company. I'm not that guy. I'm an inch wide and a mile deep. And I know a lot about like one very narrow section, right? And so don't ask me to give you advice on running a candy store. Okay. But in my early years, I was flying for a charter company called Corporate Wings. And I got there because after the Air Force, I went under reserves. After the reserve assignment, I flew for Northwest Orient, where I was furloughed.
Okay.
And so I started to realize, being a pilot has a lot of insecurities. At that time, remember, in the early 80s, there's only 5,000 corporate jets in existence. Today we have 35,000.
Wow.
And so the industry was small. It wasn't stable. And so the charter company I was flying for came up for sale. And I called my dad at the time, and I said, Dad, I think I want to buy this charter company. It's cost $27,500. And he said, how are you going to pay for it? And I said, well, they have $27,000 in the bank. So I'm thinking if I buy the stock, I'll just use the $27,000 and pay for the company. He goes, well, but I thought you said 27.5. Where are you getting the other $500? And I said, well, why do you think I called you? So yes, leverage finance exists today. It just has a lot more zeros to it.
Yeah, but when I heard that, it's a fantastic story. I'm confused why a stock would be for sale so close to cash value. Were there a lot of liabilities that were coming down the pipe that you had to generate the revenue to deliver on? Like, it just sort of defies like basic economic logic.
All right, so we're going to tell a story that's known to only a few.
Please.
And the true story here is that in the early 80s, there was investment tax credit of 10%. And it came in cash. Okay. So you could buy a plane. At those times, a citation was $1 million. You got a $100,000 tax credit. And Corporate Wings at the time was actually called J&J Aviation. And they had King Airs and 2 citations that were on investment tax credit, but they didn't exist. The owner of this company, a guy named Jeff Toke, created a fraud around the existence of these planes. Whoa. I was flying the King Airs. That was in another, I didn't know anything about it. But the dispatcher at that company, when the fraud became unveiled and everybody headed for the hills, the dispatcher of the company I was friends with, he said to me, I can't run a company because I'm a dispatcher. We need somebody that could fly, make the customers feel comfortable. So the deal was there because the company was done.
Yeah.
And so that's how that was why that situation was unique. But
Got
it was
it.
few people know about the citation fraud.
That's
That's really how it evolved.
Yeah,
We changed the name from
yep.
J&J to Corporate Wings, and that's
Yep.
how it began.
So a lot of hair on the deal, but some decent customer relationships and probably some decent employees that could actually fly. What assets remained after you sort of cleaned up the corporation, right?
So we had 4 airplanes. We had 2 King Airs, a Navajo, and a Cessna 421.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, the King Airs got worried and they left.
Yeah.
So my business was a grand total of a Navajo and a Cessna 421 for you old time pilots out there. But by the way, I thought I died and went to heaven, right?
Okay,
I mean, I had
that's
a
great.
business.
Yeah.
I'd go to the hangar on Saturdays and polish the nacelles of that Navajo. I was so proud of that airplane.
That's amazing. So then talk about the scale up, because obviously you have a massive footprint in business now, but what were the key steps along the way? What were the key turning points for you?
Well, I'd say the key turning points were in the mid 90s when when fractional was evolving, and I had this nice charter company, maybe 20, 25 airplanes at the time, but saw fractional starting to steal market share in a big way from charter because a consistent level of service, the fact that they could run one way. In those days, charters were always out and back. You paid round trip for the aircraft. So I kind of saw the threat of fractional, and that's when it came up with the idea to form Flight Options. And Flight Options idea, at that time, nobody had done fractional with used aircraft. They'd only done it with new aircraft. You had Citation shares with brand new Citations. NetJets was working with Hawker and Citation at the time.
And how would it work? How would it work mechanically? There'd be basically somebody would say, "Hey, I'm going to buy this jet. I'm going to cut it up into 8 pieces or whatever," and then would they effectively crowdfund it? Like everybody had to come together at the same time. How did that actually work?
Capital flow.
I'm sorry, Jordy, but there was no internet at the time, so crowdfunding.
No, I don't. I meant like effect. Yeah. Throw a jet up on Kickstarter.
No, but you hit on the key issue.
Yeah.
You couldn't start with one jet.
Yeah.
You had to have enough jets that people would buy a share because they could catch on very quickly. If 4 of us own a jet, you have to have at least 4 of them in case we all want to fly at the same time. So you had to get to the point where you had a minimum number of aircraft. And in 1997, I was out trying to raise capital for just that. My idea was to start with 12 aircraft. They were going to be used Citation 2s and used Hawkers. And at the time, I needed 12 million of debt. And I went out to all the debt sources I could get. I had my great presentation on. I had my shirt and tie and blue suit. And I went to all these places and nobody would give. I mean, in the end of the day, I think we raised like $2 million based upon having that much money in the bank. It was ridiculous. But this was in late 97. Then in 1998, Warren Buffett buys NetJets.
Yeah.
In June of 98, he buys NetJets. And my proposal was literally on everybody's desk.
Wow.
And from June of 98 till August of 98, we came away with over $200 million of financing. Whoa. General Electric, Boeing Credit, Commercial Credit Corporation, Bombardier. And so all of that was... It was actually in some ways Warren Buffett that got me into the business because he doesn't buy NetJets. He christened the industry and allowed my proposal to have meat to it. So that was really, we went live with Flight Options in November of 98.
Needed somebody to legitimize the industry. And then people looked at your pitch and they were like, hey, this guy is a pilot. He's got all this operational experience. He knows how to work with customers. He's actually a solid bet in the category.
And he's in the right market.
Yeah.
How much was there was massive amount of wealth creation in the late 90s. Did that was how much of that just in the kind of internet boom, did that play into just like a lot of new demand coming in, or was that not a factor?
Oh, unbelievably a factor, because we tended to be with the used aircraft. We had the same model. It's just the buy-in was lower because a brand new Citation was 8 million, but a used one was 2.4. So we had the same model, just the buy-in was lower. And so it became very entrepreneurial. It became nouveau riche were interested in it because they were conserving capital. I can remember there was a company called Internet Capital Group, and they were in the late 90s, and they had a annual meeting in Philadelphia, and we sold 30 shares at that meeting because everybody was instantly wealthy there. And then, of course, you know what followed that, right? The dot-com bomb came, and then in 2001, it went away.
Yeah.
And
so
I've
was
actually,
that dot-com crash hard for your business? How did you get through it? I mean, with leverage, it feels like there's always a risk of just actually total capital collapse, total loss. How did you weather the various storms that you've faced throughout your career?
I've been through 4, and every one has been different.
Okay.
But that one, because the industry was still in its infancy, there were, at one time there were 55 startups in this area. If you remember, United Airlines had a startup in the space at one time. So I weathered through it by finding a merger, right? As people were moving away and the business was shrinking, find somebody else in deep doo-doo and then merge with them, right? and then create a new story.
Yeah.
So that was really, and in that case, it was Travel Air, which was a division of Raytheon. Yeah. And that was the merger we did to come out of the dot-com bomb. But yeah, you're right. I can remember we came into it combined with 200 aircraft and came out of it with 120.
Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Explain the dynamic of the buyout with Raytheon. It was a very interesting dynamic. I was not familiar with this particular process, but explain the economic mechanics, how the bidding worked, the results, because I've never heard of that before, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, so it's a term called shareholders roulette.
Yeah.
And it's used often in a company where you have 50-50 ownership. And what it simply says, because normally if a company has a buy-sell agreement, and those buy-sell agreements will say something like fair market value determined by 3 independent auditors, and if you're the seller in a pinch, you take a 15% discount. So it normally defines the process of valuing the company. But when you have 2 50-50 owners, one person just simply goes to the other person and makes them an offer to buy and to sell at the exact same number. And then the other party chooses whether they want to buy or sell at that number. So it forces you to a fair number. Yeah. And if you remember, Raytheon didn't want to be in that business. They're making missiles. Yeah. So it never occurred to me that they would ever want to own the business. But what I did was I got the business underwritten by a private equity firm, Warburg Pincus. We underwrote the business at that time at $360 million. And I went to Lexington, Massachusetts with my $180 million buy-in sell offer to them, thinking, look, they had a business that was going broke, right? I gave them around $180 million. I thought Raytheon's going to erect a Ken Rickey statue in Massachusetts. I brought them this $180 million, right? And they thought I was cheating them. They thought it was too little, and they bought me out. And so
wait, in the business at that time, you said it was losing money, or you're saying the business overall?
When we merged, their business was losing money. We were maybe making 6 or 8 million. And the combined, the economies of putting them together, right sizing the fleet, back office, we thought we had a projection for about $30 million. And to just show you how times are changed, so it was based on that $30 million projection that the multiple came out, and that's how we got to the valuation.
But that's still 12x EBITDA forward number. There's a lot of risk there. That's crazy that they took the deal.
It was, you kidding me? Of course it was crazy. I didn't get it.
Okay.
And you know what? It was the worst day of my life because I didn't want to be out of the business.
Wait, so you have to make this buy sell at 180.
You're ready to buy them out.
And you can't,
then you wind up getting bought out.
But there's no walking it back. It's like it's over at that point.
No,
they just called your bluff.
You deliver them 2 letters. One that says I will sell to you at 180 million. One says that I will buy from you at 180 million, and they pick one and sign it.
That's crazy.
And I was gone.
You wish you were like, I wish we did a duel, like a proper duel.
It's remarkable. So I mean,
you know what? In some ways, it absolutely turned out to be a blessing. But you never see that in real time, right? Yeah. I can remember those days. I was like, I felt like I'd lost my child. I mean, it really was but in reality, because I had raised money along the way, I only owned 16% of the combined of the entities. So, my buyout, I got 16% of the 180, and then we bought that company back from them in 2008.
No way.
No way.
Okay, and we bought it back.
Wait,
in
so that
total
was like
for-
a 5 years you were waiting?
It was, yeah, almost 6. But and by the way, I bought it in the middle of the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
And we bought it back for 130 million. So we bought it back at 30 cents on the dollar.
What did you do? What did you do in that window? You just twiddling your thumbs?
Well, no, I don't have that twiddle your thumb gene.
Yeah, I figured so.
I actually began a disastrous process, which leads me to much pain these days. I began to roll up the FBO industry. And I started by I partnered with a company called Allied Capital, and we bought the Mercury Air Centers, which are primary in California. Yeah. And we started that in 2004, and we sold that company to Macquarie, which was Atlantic Aviation. We sold that to them in 2007. And so
and it's painful because you wish you held on. You wish in hindsight you wish you didn't sell.
Well, what I was going to say was that we were buying them at 6 times, and we were one of the first transaction that traded at 15 times. Now today, FBO industry is trading to private equity well north of 15 multiples. And what are they doing? They're raising the fuel prices to people like us to fund the acquisitions of what I started. So it comes back to roost.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned 4 key crisis moments, 4 financial crises that you've soldiered through. .com, obviously one of them. Housing, Great Recession, another. What were the other 2?
So in the greatest interest rates, 84, when I remember doing proposals to buy an airplane at 21% interest rate, we had that huge interest rate issue in the early 80s.
Did you have any like adjustable rate loans at that time? So or everything prior to that was fixed, and you were just having to work off of the 20 something?
Well, it wasn't that I had any debt really at that time. We were, Corporate Wings was more of a management company. I needed people to buy a new plane so that I could run it in charter and become the manager of it. So I had to make a proposal, and they said, "What's my cost of capital?" And I would say, "Well, the going interest rates are 21%." Mm-hmm. So that was tough on the industry. And then Gulf War I in the early 90s, when we hit Gulf War I. The sale of new aircraft came to a standstill during that crisis. So I would tell you, high interest rates, Gulf War I, .com bomb, financial crisis.
How is the aviation industry doing today? There were some folks asking about eVTOLs, automation. There's tariffs and depreciation schedules are changing. It feels like a time of transformation, but I don't know if that's just what it looks like from the outside.
Well, I think our industry, the cool thing about aviation is we're always in transformation. We live in an industry that always has something cool coming up. Yeah. So that's fun. I'll tell you that I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on your program, but we are in a time of abundance. And I think you can, if you've only been in our industry for 5 years or 8 years, you can come to think that this is normal. And we're living through a time where it's easy to see, right? There are 2 economies. We can talk about the cost of bread. We can talk about the cost of gas, but fractional owners and private jet owners they don't live in that world. The wealth transfer that's going on doesn't live in that world. So we have this one world that's living in really good times because it's very in right now to be business and wealthy. Yep. And that is creating what I think is an overabundance in our industry. I think this is extraordinary. In my 40 years in this industry, this is one of one. Yeah. And I think we have to be careful not to be complacent about this being normal. Yeah. Because I say, this too shall pass. Yeah. But right now, this is the world we live in. We live in this abundant world. Yeah. In our industry.
What about specific technologies that might change aviation? There's been a lot of talk about flying cars, a lot of talk about eVTOLs, not a lot of production process, not a lot of movement there. But do you have more insight into some of the new technologies that might be coming out in the next decade?
I think the new technologies, I think the number one thing we're going to see is how windows go away from the airplanes. Oh. So today, today, if you look at the supply chain, if you go back 3-4 years ago, it was titanium. That's been solved. The problem in the supply chain today is windows.
Really?
If you ask Embraer, ask Mike Amalfitano, ask them why are your deliveries slipping? They say it's the windows. I didn't know this, but 50% of aircraft windows fail when installed.
Whoa.
So
and that's
now
like,
they're
and
warranted
if you get a failure in the air, like
bad.
we have a buddy who had
A lung collapse
a lung collapse
because of a broken window.
because of a broken window.
Plane.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's a disaster.
So I think the technology that's coming very fast. I don't know if you saw that Embraer announced the smart window in their Praetor 600. So they've taken out one of the windows in the aft part of the cabin, and instead of that they put a digital screen.
Yep.
And you can make that screen just look outside because there's cameras outside. So if you want to see if anybody's stealing your luggage, you could look out the window and see it. But the reality is, in flight, you could make it day, you could make it night, you could watch a video, you could make it larger, you could make it smaller. So that is, I think, the start of what's coming next. We'll get to the point where we'll eliminate passenger windows in rapid form. If you're familiar with the auto aircraft, that is in their development process without windows. And then it won't be long after that we'll be rid of the cockpit windows because, like you just said, high failure, expensive to maintain. So I think that's a technology that we could pretty much, assure is coming quick.
How do you evaluate new technologies? I'm sure anytime there's any type of new private aircraft manufacturer or eVTOL company, they're coming to you, they're pitching you, they want like some type of like LOI, even though they're not going to deliver for, even 5-10 years. We've seen so many of these companies kind of come and go or have a good render or kind of like demo, and then they never end up getting off the ground at all. So I feel like the tech industry, maybe it doesn't feel like this from your vantage point, but it doesn't even get excited about a lot of these eVTOL projects anymore, or at least the insiders don't. But
I'm sorry. Let me separate eVTOL because I think that's a different class from innovations in aircraft and so on. First of all, I think it's my obligation for someone that loves aviation to invest inside and encourage people to come up with new technologies. So I will say I've invested in 4 clean sheet aircraft. I'm 0 for 3 with one that I still have development. So I invested in the supersonic.
Boom supersonic, no way.
I did that.
Nice.
I was at the
amazing.
Ariane. I was an early supporter of the Ariane product, right? Yeah. We're an early supporter of the auto aircraft. Yeah. So I think part of it is just our obligation is to encourage technology. Yeah. Okay. Some of it is self-serving because you do have a duopoly. I mean, we do have a polyopoly, I guess, in the aircraft business. And right now, the main manufacturers control so much from the pricing of aircraft, the servicing of aircraft. So encouraging people to be entrepreneurial in the phase is something I feel obligated to do. Now, I said I haven't done very well at it, but we'll continue to try to encourage those technologies. I think eVTOL is something different. Yeah. eVTOL is a totally different market. We've been a supporter of Beta. I did the SPAC at Eve. These are the Wright brothers. This is early aviation, and we're generations away from those aircraft being suitable for our businesses. Yeah. That we're not going to have FlexJet fractionals. They're not luxurious. They don't have the weight capabilities. A lot of them don't even have no pressurization, no heating, no cooling. People will go, well, what do you need heating for? That it's only going to be 6 minutes. Well, okay, that's not luxury. It's not something we can do, right?
Yeah, that's funny.
But I think, sure. But I think it's a great technology, and it's going to happen.
Yeah. Why do you think the Concorde failed?
It's a great question because I think it was a wonderful aircraft. Yeah. There were only 15 of them, so lack of adoption would be the number one reason. It's hard to 15 aircraft. You can't keep parts in. it's just, I think it was, it's obviously as a financial reason. Now, there were other, environmental concerns at the time. Most of the environmental concerns aren't a challenge anymore. Most of the technology now can deal with that. So it's really, I think we're just, we're like, I think we're on I think had Ariane maybe started a year and a half later, they'd have played into this era of abundance that we're in, but they got caught before COVID.
Sure.
And so that kind of hurt them a little bit. I think had they been a little bit later, I think the market's right. I think we're ready for this. We're ready for supersonic.
What's the most number of hours that you've ever heard of an executive flying annually? You don't have to name the person, but just the number of hours.
600?
600 hours in the air.
Whoa, okay, that's quite a bit lower than what the Financial Times was reporting on.
Oh, what did they say?
Well, the Financial Times was reporting on, I think Alex Karp. I think didn't they have like expecting him to be up in like the 1,000 something range? And we were saying like it seems like this guy is doing deals in Europe and Asia and America constantly. You can imagine he's constly in the air.
The headline
think about this
was
one second. There's only 2,000 hours in a year. So like, how are we gonna?
Well, the headline was that he spent $17.2 million on flying, and they worked backwards to estimate that was 2,457 flight hours. But a lot of that is based on the plane. Obviously, if you're in a very expensive plane, $17 million goes a lot less far.
Could have been the BBJ.
Yeah. Could have been the BBJ.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now I personally fly between around 350 hours a year, 350 to 400, and but I'm doing I go long trips. I go back and forth to operations in Europe. So and I feel like that's a lot of hours. But
how is Starlink impacting aviation overall? There's a lot of excitement from it rolling out on the commercial space. Most of I'm sure all the jets that are in the sort of FlexJet fleet have had great internet connectivity in general for quite a while. But what is the ongoing impact?
Well, not to correct you, but that was not a true statement. Connectivity in corporate aviation has been a challenge for many years. In fact, I would tell you it was the Achilles heel, because here you go buy the $70 million jet and you get on it and you have one of the old technologies, and it's a disaster. You're like, how can I pay this kind of money and I don't have the internet? Starlink has changed everything. I mean, Starlink, like even for me now, I used to never, through my flights, if I had an 8-hour flight, I'm leaving this weekend, I can schedule anything in that flight. If you want to do this podcast from the air, we can do it. So you can just keep your schedule. And remember, it works on the ground. The old technologies only worked in the air.
Yeah.
So now you had taxi, takeoff. You couldn't do a phone call. You couldn't watch a movie.
So disruptive.
So disruptive. Yeah. No, it's changed a lot. In fact, we did the initial installations on Musk's airplane, and because of that, we got the initial STCs for all of Starlink. So our fleet's been in Starlink very early on. Our competitors are just starting to convert to it.
How do the contracts work historically? Did some of the old connectivity providers lock some fleets into really long-term agreements, so now they have to make a decision, hey, do we continue paying for this plus Starlink? Because we've just been wondering like how slowly some commercial airlines have reacted seems surprising, just considering it's such an easy way to create a meaningful differentiation for passengers.
Well, I think you're dead on, right? Money makes the blind see. So if you try to find the solution to what you're missing, it is the fact that they have those long-term contracts. Now, I don't know enough about all the contracts. I know our contract, our initial contract with GoGo allowed us to, because we have so many planes, we could just add and take off planes at will. And we have not yet done the Phenom fleet because there's a different antenna needed for the smaller fuselage. So we still do have about 80 airplanes that are on the GoGo system, but we'll be converting those.
That's great.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and hope to talk to you soon.
Love what you guys are doing.
Thanks so much.
Enjoy what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Have a good rest of your day. Let me tell you about the New York Stock Exchange. Want to change the world? Raise capital at the New York Stock Exchange.
It's that easy.
And we have Howard Marks in the Restream waiting room from Oak Tree Capital. Let's bring him into the TBPN Ultra Dome. How are you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining. I would love to kick it off with the high level on your theory of the market cycle, and then maybe we can walk into how you're thinking about markets today and over the last few years. But the high level thesis on the market cycle, how do you explain your overall thesis?
Sure. Well, thanks of all. Thanks for having me on today. I've watched what you do, and it's terrific, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Basically, a company or a market or an economy it makes progress along what we call a trend line. And so the value that it creates should progress along that trend line. But the point is that while the progress there is pretty steady and gradual, sometimes people get too excited and they overvalue that progress, and the market goes to an unsustainable high, and then something comes along that makes that correct back toward the trend line, but given the way human nature works, through it to an unsustainable low. And then eventually that's corrected back toward the trend line to a high. So the point is that whereas the underlying thing progresses gradually, the price fluctuates wildly around that trend line, and the main reason is the fluctuation of psychology.
Yeah. How far back do you go when you think about market cycles? Does the same theory apply pre-industrial revolution?
Well, I'm old, but I'm not that old. And
I didn't mean it like that.
I wasn't there, but yes, I think. Well, I think one of the most valuable operative quotations is from Mark Twain, who supposedly said that history does not repeat, but it does rhyme.
Yeah.
So the things that rhyme are the elements of human nature that cause these excessive fluctuations around what I'll call intrinsic value or reality.
Sure.
So, the desire to get rich quick, envy of seeing others get rich quick, the belief that it's possible to get rich quick, the fear of missing out, the fact that people get more excited the higher the price goes, which should be worrisome. So these things, I think, have always been in place. And you read about bubbles that took place. Let's see, the tulip bubble, I think, was 1620. The South Sea bubble was 1720. And so these excesses, these human failings, have always been part of what goes on.
But this time is different. No, kidding. How do you think a lot of the guests on our show have maybe been through the COVID kind of brief correction and chaos of ZERP, but don't have much else to go off of? That can kind of be an advantage because you can just be so optimistic that even if something bad, you do get a big correction, maybe you get a fast rebound.
Yeah.
Has being through a number of these cycles ever hurt your performance because you just weren't optimistic enough, or this idea that optimists make money and pessimists sound smart?
Well, my firm, Oak Tree Capital Management, first of all, doesn't invest for the most part in the stock market. We're mostly investors in what's called credit or debt. But I think that we are what's called contrarians. I think we're, my partner Bruce Karsh and I are essentially innately contrarian, which is to say that we are most comfortable doing the opposite of what the herd is doing at the extreme because we see its error. And so I think we've always done that naturally. So we are, I think we're conservative by nature. And I always say, by the way, in 1978, Citibank asked me to go to the bond department and start a high yield bond fund and a convertible bond fund, and it worked great because being a lender requires conservatism. If they would have said, I want you to start a venture capital fund and predict when Amazon is going to be created, I would have been a disaster. I'm not a futurist. I'm not an optimist, et cetera. But when I have seen excessive pessimism and excessive gloom causing crashes, and I've seen a few, it has come kind of naturally to go against that excess. And so I think ironically, one of the things we've done best for conservative people is seize the opportunity at the lows, again, by being contrarian. And, I wrote a memo in October of 2008 after the bankruptcy of Lehman with the title, The Limits to Negativism. And there is such a thing as being too negative.
Do you think contrarianism, like you just described, is purely innate, or can it be learned? Is it a muscle that you can build over a career? Is it something that folks in everyday life who maybe aren't professional investors but might benefit from not getting overheated and falling in with the herd can learn? And if so, how?
I think you can learn these things. I wrote a book called Mastering the Market Cycle. I'm not really trying to plug the book, but it wouldn't hurt.
Love it.
But and it all talks about how to deal with the cycle.
Yeah.
What I think is, I get all these questions. Can you learn this? Can you learn that? Can you learn this? Can you learn to be unemotional? Can you learn to be what I call a second level thinker? Can you learn to be a contrarian?
Yeah.
The answer is, I can tell you why it's important. I can explain to you why it's essential. Is it something you can ingest? I don't know. I, for some reason or another, come by it naturally. It's easy for me, relatively. By the way, I don't want to give the impression that when I make these calls at the highs or the lows, that I do it without some trepidation. I'm never sure. Anybody who's sure is an idiot. They say there are two kinds of people who lose a lot of money: the people who know nothing and the people who know everything. So I'm not trying to imply that it's easy, but it does come fairly naturally to me through the combination of my emotional makeup and the application of logic.
Yeah.
If somebody else doesn't have my emotional makeup, they could learn the logic. Maybe they could learn to do it. It might not come so easy. That's all I can say.
How do you think about the concept of black swan events, or the integration of black swan events into a market cycle? Because going into COVID, I was looking at the fundamental health of the American consumer, the fundamental health of the economy. Everything looked very strong. And I think that's why the economy rebounded as quickly as it did and then sort of overheated. But do you need to put black swans out of your mind? Are black swans even a real thing? Like, how do you think about that concept?
They're a real thing. I don't think you can do anything about them.
Yeah.
My term, the term I've always used for what Taleb calls a black swan, is an improbable disaster. And by the way, they're not all disasters. There are improbable bonanzas too.
Yeah, to the upside.
But I mean, if you just think about the improbable disaster, it is something where if it happened, it would be disastrous, but it's very improbable. What do you do about it? And in my opinion, you can't do anything about it. If you say, well, I'm concerned that there could be, an 8 hurricane earthquake. I'm concerned that there could be 4 hurricanes in a row. I'm concerned that there could be nuclear war, and I'm concerned that there could be inflation at 20%. Well, you can protect yourself against that. You can call that guy who lives in Omaha. He'll write you an insurance policy to protect you against all of those things. You just won't like the premium. And if you take out that insurance policy and you pay that high premium and you're protected, in the vast, vast majority of years, it's not going to happen. And after a little while, you'll get tired of paying those premiums and you'll stop, probably in time for it to happen.
Yeah.
So you really can't. And the things that are in the way distant tails of the probability distribution are just things you have to live with. That's real life.
Mm-hmm. How do you think about the education that goes into becoming an investor and how that's changing? It feels like it's easier to learn without mentors because everything's been compacted into AI and open sourced on the internet, and you can watch great lectures and podcast interviews. What's changed and what's the same?
Well, my perception is that AI, number one, AI has a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
It reads everything that ever happened.
Yeah.
And ingests it and remembers it and can find it.
Mm-hmm.
And then AI becomes a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you, how to think. It gives you examples of thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just makes it so much easier to learn,
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a memo in December. I write memos to my clients. October was the 35th anniversary.
Yeah.
And I talked about AI in a memo December 9th. And then I have a son named Andrew. He's in the tech world. He's a terrific venture capitalist. He's co-founder of a group called TQ Ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And given the recent events, he pushed me to revisit that memo and update it.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this great idea. He said, "Why don't you ask Claude to tell you about what's been happening?" And so he and I developed a request, which we inputted to Claude.
Mm-hmm.
His help was invaluable, but of course he does this all day with all of his brilliant founders. And so Claude wrote me a tutorial, which enabled me to update the memo.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned an incredible amount, from in a field that is not native to me through doing that. And so it was a mentor to me,
mm-hmm.
and it can be a mentor to others. But as we know, you have to ask it the right questions.
Yeah.
And Andrew and his buddies helped me do that.
Yeah, how has technology changed the credit markets or just investing in credit over your career? I can imagine computerization, the internet, there's sort of a continuum of advances that just help information flow more freely. AI feels like just an extension of that, but how has the actual work changed over your career?
Right now, AI is helping us marshal data
mm-hmm.
with a thoroughness and a speed and an error-freeness
mm-hmm.
that we never had before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it has changed the process because it all comes down in the end to looking at a company and assessing the probability that it'll pay its debts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're still better at doing that than AI is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, I should tell you that an hour or two ago, I put out a new memo updating the December memo. You probably haven't seen it. I may make reference to it.
Please.
Pardon me?
No, I was saying we do have it pulled up.
Yes.
But
great.
For the audience.
Okay, great. So, it says in there, and I asked Claude, and Claude said, look, the truth of the matter is that the thing that AI is the weakest at is doing analyses on brand new things where there aren't established patterns.
Mm.
And I think that that's a lot of what we do,
mm-hmm.
And at the present time, I think AI can marshal the data, organize the logic, frame the question. I don't think it's the top of the heap in answering the question yet. Of course, I can always be wrong. But and I say in the memo that I think that what AI does is predicts Based on past patterns, it predicts what kind of companies will pay their debts and whether a given company will pay its debts. And it puts forth a hypothesis with regard to an individual situation. And it tells you you should or you shouldn't invest. I think, as I understand the status of things today, you need people to check the hypotheses.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I would make an investment commitment based on the hypothesis alone. I would want to check it, but I think it gives you a great starting point. And by the way, so I wrote the memo. I said to Andrew, "Do you want to look at it?" He says, "Why send it to me? Why don't you send it to Claude?" Ask Claude to take a look at the memo. So I did, and I was absolutely. And if you read the memo, I was absolutely dumbstruck by what I got back, because it responded to me. I said it responded to me. It felt like a note from a colleague or friend. It was personal. It was warm. It drew analogies to my 35 years of memos. It talked about some of the people I respect. It injected humor. It was complimentary. It said it talked about a section it thought was really good. So I wrote to Andrew. I said, "Is AI Claude an ass kisser?" Because I thought it was maybe unduly complimentary.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, Dad, ask it to be hypercritical." So I wrote back. I made a few corrections. I said, "Now, would you please be hypercritical?" So it writes me back, and it says, "Do you want me to be hypercritical or hypocritical?" It's making a joke, you know? So I think that it's going to change our world.
Yeah.
I think that, we have an activity in our investment world called indexation, where rather than pick stocks, a lot of people who invest in the stock market now instead just invest in a vehicle that emulates the S&P 500 or some other index. And indexation has put a lot of people out of business because a lot of people used to A, do an inferior job, underperform the S&P, and then B, charge highly for their services. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people are out of the business now, and the majority of equity mutual fund money is managed through indexation or passive. I think AI will advance that. What it does is it just raises the bar and weeds out the people who don't add value. I don't think it'll replace the best, but it'll replace a lot.
How are you personally comparing the AI build out and the advancements in the various models and stuff happening at the application layer all the way down to the hardware layer to the internet build out? There's so many different comps, from investor psychology to overall consumer psychology. We were talking earlier this week on the show about the Battle of Seattle and the protests around the internet build out and the fear that people had around jobs getting outsourced, going overseas, as well as just disintermediation. And it feels like so many of the radical predictions that people made about the internet are still being made about AI. Some of them came true with the internet, but they came true over a decade or two. And in some ways now it feels like AI really is just a continuation of many of the same trends that the internet brought along, but some of the predictions are even wilder this time around.
Well, I think that, first of all, I am, in that debate, I'm on the side of the worriers vis-a-vis society. By the way, remember I said 10 minutes ago, I'm not that much of an optimist.
Yeah.
So I can imagine the jobs eliminated, and I am not imaginative enough to think of all the jobs that will be newly created. So I see a net decline in jobs, and I do worry about that. AI is similar to the technological bubbles that I've seen, and the technological bubbles probably go back all the way to the railroads, 140 years ago. But the power of AI relative to the predecessor technologies, I think, is vastly higher. The speed of innovation is vastly faster. I think if you look at the Claude and all the coding models and the way they've progressed, and the way Anthropic's revenues have progressed, I think you have to say that this is faster than anything we've ever seen before. And I think
it's because you have the distribution that was laid starting over 20 years ago.
But I think the speed at which AI can innovate is faster than the speed at which society can adjust. Mm-hmm. So you might say it'll catch up, but I think I think at minimum you're talking about a significant period of dislocation. The other thing that we haven't touched on, but is the biggest difference between AI and everything else we've ever seen, is the autonomy. And all the other technologies, starting with the railroad up through the internet, were, I would call, labor-saving devices. We had a job to do, and the new technology did it better, faster, cheaper. AI, it's different. It's not just going to do the job we used to do. It's going to design new jobs. Mm-hmm. It's going to assign new jobs. It's going to take on work we haven't asked it to take on. It's going to take on work we didn't think it could do. And it's going to operate at some point in time without instruction. In the memo, I talk about the fact that ChatGPT brought out a new model earlier this month, and in the write-up for the model, they said, basically in English, AI, the model helped us design the model. Yeah. There's never been anything analogous to that before. So when I think about this extreme level of competence, speed, etc., I think of dislocation for people. And there are people who say, and I reference in the memo, there are people who say, "Oh, I have great news. People aren't going to have to work." To me, that's terrible news. I think we get a great deal from our work other than a paycheck. Yeah. And how are those elements of life going to be replaced?
It's a wild time.
How are you feeling about the United States relative to other countries, the rest of the world? There's a lot of uncertainty generally, politically. At the same time, America seems to have a lead in the AI race. How are you feeling about just America broadly?
Well, I don't know enough about the technology to know where we stand in the race or what it's going to take to win the race or anything like that. But I think, and there was the big news recently was that Anthropic is going to, I don't even know the right terminology, but let's say be less reticent in certain areas to apply technology. Yeah. Because in America and in a lot of developed countries, we have these things called scruples. Oh no, I'm not going to do that. That. Oh yeah, well, yes, you could do that, but I'm not going to do that. This is an arms race, and America has never had a serious rival before. Never had a serious rival. We thought Russia was a serious rival. We were wrong. It was never really a threat other than militarily or atomically. But we've never had an economic rival before. Now we have we have a rival in many dimensions, and of course it's China. And I think that AI will be at the core of that rivalry. And if we slow down because of our scruples, and they carry on pell-mell, I think that'll help them win. And if they get control of AI, if they have highly superior AI, I think that could be one of the things that makes life tough for us. So, and by the way, I consider myself as having scruples, but I worry about what this implies. And by the way, if you want to think about scruples, think about this. One of the areas in which we have a problem, which is not highly talked about or acknowledged, is rare earths. And rare earths are ubiquitous in many areas of technology, and we're dependent on China for them. So here's a question for you two young guys. Before China developed its primacy in rare earths, who had primacy?
Wasn't it America?
I think we did, and we decided it was dirty and it was worth shipping overseas before.
Bingo.
Yeah.
100, you get 100 points for that answer.
Let's go. Thank you.
It was us, and as I understand it, most of the rare earths came out of one mine in California. And my guess is some ecologists concluded that, as you say, that it was dirty.
Yep.
And so maybe we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then guess what? And guess what China said?
We'll do it.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
And we'll do it cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
And so they got all the business.
Yeah.
And that's how you create a dependency.
Yeah. And there's a big question about how does the dirt over there just come right over here? Like, well, potentially, I think it's possible. But it's all one atmosphere.
But look at what happened with energy in Europe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Germany had a bunch of nuclear reactors.
Yeah. Crazy.
And then they said, well, we don't really like having nuclear reactors because of it's non-ecological. And Russia said, oh, we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
We'll supply your energy.
Yeah.
And you develop a dependence.
Yeah.
So the point is, what you had in both cases is you had decisions made on purely economic terms in areas that probably should have included some strategic decision making.
Yeah.
Geopolitical strategy. Yeah. But it was all ceded to the economists and the ecologists.
Yeah.
Hard decisions. These are hard decisions.
They are. Can I completely switch gears and ask you sort of a personal finance question?
Of course.
I've heard this rule of thumb that the allocation between stocks and bonds should be tied to your age. If you're 50 years old, you should be 50-50. If you're 25 years old, you should be 25% in bonds. But recently, the bond markets and the stock markets have been more correlated than decorrelated. And I'm wondering how you think the average person should think about the equity markets versus the debt markets.
First of all, there are no numbers that hold true for everybody.
Yeah.
So any rules of thumb that have numbers in them, you have to throw out.
The only rule of thumb is no rules of thumb.
Yeah, that's
well,
a
like
good rule of thumb.
who was it? Somebody once said that every generalization is flawed, including this one.
Yes.
Right.
That's great.
So the point is that stocks and bonds have different qualities.
Sure.
Existential qualities, and people should understand what the difference is. And it's not, the difference is not merely that one is called stocks and one is called bonds. You have to understand the difference, and then you have to figure out for yourself what the right, I would say, risk posture is. And each person and each company and each insurance company, each sovereign wealth fund, each investor should figure out their normal, appropriate risk posture based on age, wealth, income, sufficiency of age, of wealth and income, aspiration, number of dependents, and intestinal fortitude, the ability to live with fluctuations. And it's different for everybody. So, that rule of thumb generalization hints at a direction, which is to say, maybe younger people whose lives lie ahead should take on more uncertain paths, which have a higher trajectory, but more uncertainty. And older people who are approaching retirement should have a less uncertain path and more dependability. Makes perfect sense. The number, using something like your age as the answer is silly.
Yeah.
But I think everybody has to think about those things. And it's not easy to come up with the answers, but you better do it because it's damn important.
Yeah.
Last question for me, and sorry to jump around a little bit, but I'm curious, were you ever deeply pessimistic about the internet, about what the internet's impact would be on society in the way that you are around AI and potential labor displacement? Because certainly
That's a great question.
Because you could have pessimism about, hey, we got a lot of fiber in the ground that's not actually being used, that we're headed off a cliff here. That's kind of like maybe more like economic pessimism, but societal pessimism, I'm curious.
You know, I think the honest answer is that I never knew enough about the internet to reach that point of pessimism.
Because you didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
You didn't have.
Well,
you didn't have LLMs.
I didn't have my son kicking me in the butt, making me do the research. I mean, he has really pushed me. He said, "Dad, you have to know this stuff," and he does it all day. So I think I know much more about AI than I ever did about the internet. So the answer is I never did reach that level of pessimism with regard to the internet.
What's the fundraising cycle like for Oak Tree Capital? How often do you raise funds? What's the latest fund?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, we have a lot of different kinds of funds. We have some which are very plain vanilla and produce a steady return fairly dependably. Higher, we don't do anything in what's called high grade bonds or investment grade. Everything we do is non-investment grade. So we don't do gilt edge. But so nothing that we do is 100% dependable. So we have some that are mundane and moderate return, and then we have some that are highly aspirational and often tied to the cycle. I think it's fair to say we're the world's leading investor in distressed debt, and so sometimes when there's a lot of distress, there's a lot for us to do. We have the ability to invest a lot of money and historically have high returns. When everything is placid, there's not much to do in distressed land. So we have to kind of go into remission, and we don't raise much money in those funds, and we raise small funds with which we can do very selective things and make do with a modest supply. So it's a lot of our fundraising is tied to that. The other thing is we're worriers. When in good times, most people plunge ahead. We tend to pull back because we get worried because they're too damn optimistic. You know, Buffett says the less prudence with which others conduct their affairs, the greater the prudence with which you must conduct your own affairs. Or he says we must conduct. And I believe that. So when everybody is unafraid, I get terrified because they do nutty things that put us all in jeopardy. The scariest thing in the world, the riskiest thing in the world is the belief there's no risk. And when people believe there's no risk, the world gets crazy. There's an old saying in the banking business, which is where I started my career, that the worst of loans are made in the best of times for this reason. So that really defines our cycle. When everybody else is having a ball, making money hand over fist, doesn't see anything to worry about, you know, we kind of go into a cocoon because to us, that's scary, and it hints at very few opportunities. When everybody else is terrified and wouldn't touch risk with a 10-foot pole, and as a consequence, you get highly paid for taking risk, that's when we turn aggressive.
Which, I don't know how much you if you read or talked with Andrew about Citrini's Sunday memo, the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis, which Citadel responded to by basically saying we have an intelligence crisis right now with everyone's reaction to this piece. But did you ever have a memo that had that created really wild near-term price action, or in the way that the Citrini piece did, or with the way that information moved historically, did that kind of?
No, I look, that he used a device of, I mean, he even said this is not a prediction. This is an extreme case to illustrate I've never felt that it was attractive to do that. I try to live in the middle of the probability distribution, and understand what's going on in the middle of the probability distribution, rather than again. I think maybe you would say that Citrini's case was a black swan.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I don't traffic with black swans.
Well,
yeah, it's interesting. It kind of needed to come from a Substack that gives the kind of appearance of being, if you're just reading it for the first time, it gives these kind of appearance of sophistication,
sure,
but doesn't come with having run, tens of billions of dollars of assets.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us.
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Really enjoyable conversation.
Well, as I said, I think you guys are doing a great job, and it's really a pleasure to be part of it.
Yes, we've loved having you. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah, and
on all the progress.
tell Andrew he's welcome.
And let's plug the book. Go buy the book. And it's available where all books are sold. I'm sure that there's an audio version as well.
Exactly. Thanks
so much.
Okay.
Cheers, Howard.
Bye. Let me tell you about Vanta. Automate compliance and security. Vanta is the leading AI trust management platform. And let me tell you about Labelbox. RL environments, voice, robotics, evals, and expert human data. Labelbox is the data factory behind the world's leading AI teams. And without further ado, we will kick off our Lambda Lightning Round. I'm getting it, Ben. We got new graphics.
New graphics.
The Lambda Lightning Round has been done.
We did it.
We have Demi Guo from Pika. She's the co-founder and CEO. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing? Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
We're
please
fired up.
Tell us about AI Selves. Tell us about the latest launch. What did you launch today?
Yeah, for sure. So we all have the same problem. There's only one of us. Your mom needs, help with your computer. Your partner sometimes wants, more time, especially for a founder. Your friends want to hang out. You're for a founder, you're so busy that maybe you're missing out for on a group trip planning. But you're in the meetings, you're on slides, you're asleep. So then we could raise this question, like, what if there's a second you? We build something, new, which is called AI Self, where you can give birth to it, you can raise it, and it will grow with you, evolve, and it becomes a living extension of you.
This is what you and John Ballmer were just talking about 2 hours earlier in the show. You're like, John and Jordy are going to talk to each other and get stuff done. Is this purely for entertainment, or do you actually see a business sort of use case where someone with a great marketing mind will create an AI self, and then I would be able to go to them and bounce a Super Bowl ad campaign off of them? How do you see the user actually interacting with this?
Yeah, for sure. I think there are many ways you could do it. First, it definitely, it's you, but it's always, like you mentioned, it's like infinite availability, right? So 24/7 available, always on, can be everywhere. So, your family, people who love you will be able to have more access to you. So your mom will be able to talk to your AI self to help her to debug IT problems. But like you mentioned, it's same for, people who have great expertise, right? So if you're a really genius marketing person, maybe other people can talk to her to gain more marketing knowledge, and she can monetize off it. And it's because it's AI, so it can do all those it breaks all the human limits, right? So it can be very capable. For example, like I mentioned, it can has your marketing taste, but it also can do everything 10 times faster.
How do you get enough data for an individual to make it an accurate representation of the individual? We've talked about this because we put out 3 hours a day of content of ourselves talking, hanging out, but most people don't have.
We're going 24/7 with this. Let the AI selves host the rest of the other 21 hours a day.
Yeah, for sure. The hope is in the future you guys can use your AI self to directly give this experience. So but to answer your question about how do we get data to have accurate representation of you, I would say there are three angles. First is it could import more data of you. So for example, you can like import all the TBM you showed in the past. So you can learn from that. But also like when you're using AI itself, there's this constant process, like you're correcting and guiding it, right? So when you're using her, or him to like generate marketing assets for you, he will also learn the marketing taste you have. So like when you're using her for like, short-term productive word, he will also learn the taste basically. And the last angle is that the identity also really matters here. Because for example, like your mom might not care how it's 100% accurate about like everything is accurate about you. But as long as you're AI, she will be interested because otherwise she could not find you, right? So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Unfortunately, I have some breaking news, so I need to cut this interview short, but we'll love to have you back on the show soon. So have a great rest of the day.
On the launch.
And congratulations on the launch. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Goodbye. And the breaking news is that Warner Brothers says Paramount's new offer is superior. Netflix now has 4 days to respond. The Kalshi market is continuing to diverge. When we started tracking this, Netflix was up at 50%, Paramount at 40%. Now Paramount is starting to run away with it. They're at 62%, and Netflix is down at 33%. Will they sweeten their offer? We don't know, but Netflix has 4 days to respond.
More breaking news.
More breaking news. What else?
Square is cutting from 10,000 to 6,000 employees, a 40% reduction.
Whoa.
Let's head over to Jack. He says, we're making blocks smaller today. Here's my note to the company. Today we're making, and I wanted to ask Howard about this because it feels like so much of, I'm curious to see what Jack says around the reasoning, but I've been shocked that more CEOs, when their stocks are down and beat up, aren't looking at what happened with X and saying there's a huge expense that we have here, payroll. And anyway, so he says, today we're making one of the hardest decisions in the history of our company. We're reducing our organization by nearly half, from over 10,000 people to just under 6,000. That means 4,000 of you are being asked to leave or entering into consultation. I'll be straight about what's happening. First off, if you're one of the people affected, you'll receive your salary for 20 weeks plus 1 week per year of tenure, equity vested through the end of May, 6 months of health care, corporate devices, and $5,000 to put toward whatever you need to help in this transition. That is generous. We're not making this decision because we're in trouble. Our business is strong. Gross profit continues to grow. We continue to serve more customers and profitability is improving, but something has changed. We're already seeing that intelligence tools we're creating and using, paired with smaller and flatter teams, are enabling a new way of working, which fundamentally changes what it means to build and run a company, and that's accelerating rapidly. I had 2 options: cut gradually over months or years as this shift plays out, or be honest about where we are and act on it now. I choose the latter. Repeated rounds of cuts are destructive to morale, to focus, and to the trust that customers and shareholders place in our ability to lead. And I won't read the whole thing, but this feels a little bit more real.
Like what Citrini was sort of predicting a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels more real than some of these other cuts where they do like a 8% riff
this is a
and then say, oh, we're getting, but going down by nearly half.
Also, I mean, Block has been mostly spared the SaaSpocalypse. I mean, over the last 1 month, the stock's down 17%. Over the last 6 months, it's down 30%. It's not down 50, 60%.
Yeah, but still, it's trading at like somewhere around.
It's way off peak. The peak stock price was $263. Now it's at $54, and so there's certainly a question about how they build back. Well, let me tell you about Gusto, the unified platform for payroll, benefits, and HR, built to evolve with modern small and medium-sized businesses. And without further ado, let's continue our lightning round and bring in Yash Patel from Applied Compute. How you doing?
What's going on?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Since this is the first time on the show, long overdue, please introduce yourself and the company.
Yeah. So my name is Yash. I'm the CEO of Applied Compute, and what we do is we build what we call specific intelligence for enterprise. And what that means is, right, like, AI is sort of, going at breakneck speeds. These general models are getting better and better week over week. But, if you're using the general thing, you're kind of never having your competitive edge. So what we think is there's a ton of latent knowledge or subject matter expertise that's kind of in an enterprise. And what we want to do is help enterprises capture that, imbue that into their agentic workforce, and start to scale up their agentic coworkers.
What does an actual onboarding process look like for an enterprise? Is it just sort of turning loose?
Before you answer, I just got to say I love specific intelligence. Yeah. I've got enough general intelligence. I really like some specific.
I think a lot of people are feeling that. They're like, everything's at 99%, but I want 99.999%.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's that MIT Gen AI, State of Gen AI paper that came out a while ago. And, the thing it highlighted, the reason 95% of these AI pilots fail is because these things don't really do the last mile. So they don't adapt to feedback. They don't get better the more you use them, kind of like an employee would. And, that's really what you need in enterprise in order to actually have like a productive employee. You can do kind of simple automations. We've seen a lot of like workflow building, and that's great. So I kind of think about this as like RPA plus, right? You had, you used to have like sort of like your click and drag RPA. Yeah. Now you're introducing models into it. But to do sort of like real cognitive work that like knowledge workers are doing, you kind of need to go a step above. A lot of that is context, but a lot of what we do is fundamental research on the model level too, because we think, sort of building this next agentic employee is going to require sort of touching the entire stack.
And what does your stack and supply chain look like? Are you a beneficiary of open source? Are you partnering with big labs? You obviously have a lot of experience with big labs, but what does actually deploying one of your products look like?
Yeah, so we're a platform. So we deploy a platform inside of an enterprise. We really want to sell the entire stack. So that's being able to plug into all of your system of record and data. Because we think context is there. It's just really fragmented, right, across all these different applications and even people. A lot of stuff is in people's heads. This tacit knowledge. So we plug into all of your data. We have our proprietary RL post training stack where we can train these sort of like reasoning models directly on top of your data. All the infrastructure around models, which makes them agents, right? So there's the model, but an agent is really like, where's that model running? What tools does it have access to? All the permissioning and authentication. And then above that is like the application layers. So how are humans interacting with these agents? How are they like sort of guiding it, instructing it on what to do? And then the observability around all of this. And what we think our value really is closing the loop. So everyone's been talking about continual learning. I think that's entirely how this space is going to go, right? Like, we have offline evals today. That's because that's kind of the best thing we have to benchmark. Really, these models are getting so damn good that you're going to be evaluating them based off the real work that they're doing in the enterprise and like while you're actually tasking them with stuff. So we basically help capture all of that information, turn it back into context and data that we can use to continually train these things.
I don't know how much you can share, or how much is this is a secret sauce that maybe you'll talk about on a podcast 3 years from now when you've already won. But how do you get all the context that lives in people's head into your system so that it can be used across the organization? Is like I imagine you've tried a bunch of different attempts and ways.
Yeah. So I think there's like a couple of standard sort of recipes that you can use to start these things. And I actually want to be super clear. I think RL is sort of one of the best ways to train these models today, but it's not going to be the only thing, and it's going to constantly evolve. It's honestly quite nascent in its stage, right? I think Karpathy and a lot of these other folks have talked about like how overly simplistic it is. But a good example, Jordy, might be embodied work, right? So humans go and spend a ton of time going and creating artifacts that they spend a lot of reasoning effort on. And what you can actually do is you can look at these artifacts, these final outputs, and sort of say, hey, this is what good looks like. And then optimize models, sort of train models to produce things that look like that. So, I think a recent example of this that we actually, we put out some collaborative research with Mercor like 2 days ago, sort of hill climbing on this new agentic benchmark they call Apex. So it's sort of a professional services benchmark across law, investment banking, consulting management. Yeah, we're sort of number one on the corporate law subdomain there. I think got bumped down to and like number 4 or 5 overall. So it's crazy how much you can do with these small amount of data.
Where is applied compute? Like what sectors are your customers like having their mind blown in the way that software engineers have generally with code gen tools over the last year?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're really targeting institutions where there's a lot of sort of built up knowledge and context over decades, right? So this is like financial services, insurance, healthcare, bio, places where data really, really matters. I think, even the coding domain, right? It's, there's so much, there's such a high ceiling there in terms of the types of models you can go and train. So, we've been doing some work with Cognition, helping train some custom models there. But I think like places where there's a lot of sort of like institutional knowledge, that's where this sort of imbuing it into these models shines the most.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and breaking down.
Do we have to? I think we got to hit the gong.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the fundraising it was a little bit ago, but how much did you raise? We want to hit the gong.
Yeah, so we raised 80 million last year.
Better late than never. Great to finally have you on the show. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
I hope we can hang again soon.
Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Let me tell you about CrowdStrike. Your business is AI, their business is securing it. CrowdStrike secures AI and stops breaches. And let me also tell you about Railway. Railway is the all-in-one intelligent cloud provider. Use your favorite agent to deploy web apps, servers, databases, and more, while Railway automatically takes care of scaling, monitoring, and security.
Get in the Ultradome. He's not here yet.
Morton, we're running a little bit behind. We'll check on him. And in the meantime, we will tell you about Scott is here. We have Scott Morton from Revel. He's the founder and CEO. Welcome to the show.
What's happening?
Hello, great to be here.
How you doing? Massive day. Take us through the fundraising news, because I just hit the gong and I want to hit it again.
Yeah, we've raised 150 million for our Series B, led by Index Ventures. Major participation from Redpoint as well.
Amazing. Since it's your first time on the show, let's break down the product. What are you building?
Yeah, so we are solving a basic problem in that the software used to control and test hardware systems really has not improved since the 80s and 90s. So you have these companies building, the most complex cutting edge systems like hypersonic jets and satellites, and they're using control software that was designed pre-Windows 98. It's insane. And so we provide a state-of-the-art software platform that really makes the control software and test software no longer a bottleneck, but instead an accelerant to their development.
Do you have any experience making hardware, or did you just think this was a cool idea?
Yeah, no. So I spent 9.5 years at SpaceX. Worked on a lot of these systems, wrote a lot of control software for Falcon 9 and then later Starship vehicle launch site. And SpaceX was really, it was like a proving ground for, software for hardware systems and, and also kind of the highest stakes environment.
Yeah. So, maybe go a little bit deeper in terms of software for hardware systems. Like when I think about a rocket taking off, I could think about like a gravity simulation, like a full 3D environment, something on Unreal Engine. Then I could also just think about like a whole bunch of, like business logic, basically testing different ratios and applying the laws of physics at sort of just a mathematical level. Like, what's the shape of the product? What are the most common problems that are solved?
Yeah, I mean, this is the software that will control the hardware system directly. Engineers typically, they need to author the control software, and overall, it's like if they can only test, they're like, let's say you're building a pump or something. If you're only able to test that 5 times in a week, imagine if you could then test it 50 times in a week, and how much of a better pump you're going to then deliver when you need to ship that product.
So with a pump, I could imagine Like, what is it, CFD, fluid dynamics? Like, are you simulating individual fluid molecules flowing through a system, or are you acting on a higher level of abstraction? Like, what's in demand right now in terms of simulation and control software?
Yeah, so this is more so like you're designing a pump from the very beginning, and you first kind of design the system, you then fabricate an initial version of it.
Yeah.
Then you need to set up kind of an environment for how you're going to make sure that what you've built is actually, going to work. It's not going to break, let's say.
Yeah.
And so where we said this is the software that will both control the pump, but then also all the systems around it that are going to kind of make that simulated environment.
Yeah. What do you think of the term digital twin? Is that overused and too
That's hilarious.
buzzwordy? Yeah, hilarious.
Yeah, I know it's used everywhere. I mean, simulation is a big component of all of this, but we're more so in the like rapid iteration and testing these systems.
Sure.
So for instance, we're running deep partnership with Impulse Space, if you know them.
Oh, yeah.
They have a rocket engine test site out in the Mojave Desert. Yeah. Our software will run that whole system. I mean, it's a large facility, and we enable the engineers there to write all their control software, make their command and control interfaces, and then also kind of execute those together as they're trying to figure out, what they want to see on that system.
Yeah.
Where are you getting traction? $150 million Series B tells me that you're not just selling into pre-seed companies in El Segundo. Are you getting into some of these larger kind of legacy manufacturers yet, or is that part of this round?
Yeah, no, we've done really well with kind of scaling startups so far. Both doing the test software, but also control software, working with Radiant Nuclear, providing their command and control system. But yeah, we are engaged with some larger companies.
Doug is here. Doug is here physically in the Ultra
He's about
Dome.
to come on the show.
He's coming on in 10 minutes. He's
like, I have a bug
Doug.
report. I have a bug report.
Standing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah, we're doing very well with the kind of scaling startups, but we're now starting to engage with both larger companies in aerospace, but then also in more of heavy industry, mining, more of industrial control, oil and gas type applications.
That's cool.
Is this a good place to just kind of vibe code, not even look at the code? You just kind of tell
just let it
not
rip.
to make
Let
mistakes,
it rip.
or is part of this is like if there's software errors on your side, there can be very physical, expensive consequences in the real world.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely the latter. I don't think a lot of people are really vibe coding this type of software at this point. And we do have some plans for that to make that enable you to vibe code potentially for control software. We do actually have our own programming language, believe it or not, which sounds pretty wild, but there really isn't a good programming language specifically designed for controlling hardware systems. And part of that is actually designing out a lot of the common mistakes that are made. So this language, if it compiles successfully, it actually cannot crash when it is run. That's an example.
Goldman Sachs has their own programming language?
I did not.
I think it's called slang, securities language, right? I think Bloomberg.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, there's a number. Jane Street, OCaml. It's not theirs, it's open source. But respect. Programming language respecter here.
That's right.
Anyway,
so great to finally have you on, Scott.
Yeah,
we still got to hang. We still got to hang one of these days. But
maybe we needed a custom programming language for TBPN.
Yeah, Tyler.
TBPN
Tyler can learn his first programming language.
This is what we need. He's more of a plain text programmer these days.
Sorry,
Just
Scott.
kidding.
We're having too much fun.
We're having
But
fun.
congratulations to the whole team. I'm sure you'll be back on.
We'll talk to
very,
you
very soon.
Have a good rest of your
Thanks,
day.
guys.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Let me tell you about Restream. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want a multi-stream, go to Restream.com. And let me tell you about Public.com. Investing for those that take it seriously. They got stocks, options, bonds, crypto, treasuries, and more with great customer service. And without further ado, we'll bring in Sun from Moon Lake. Sun and Moon. You see what I did there? Congratulations on the launch. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining the show. Please explain exactly what you built and how much AI is going on, because it's a crazy demo. We're hopefully going to be able to pull it up, but would love to know about how you're positioning the product, how you're explaining it, and what Moon Lake is.
Yeah, of course. So actually, let me take a step back.
Please
explain. Define world models first, because there's such a term that is overloaded.
Yeah.
So I define world models as models that can a predictive model that can extrapolate the next state of the world, even in action, right? And in fact, I'm defining this right now because I'm predicting that you guys are going to ask me about, okay, how is our world model different than other world models?
Sure.
So this capability is actually just like my world model capability.
Yeah.
Right. And the biggest problems with foundation models in AI today is that these models don't have these world model capabilities such that it can't predict and act in long horizon tasks.
Yeah. No, we've seen with like Genie 3, amazing ability to paint on the wall, come back, paint again, and the paint's still there. But we're so far away from a real game mechanic of you're 5 hours in and you go back and you get a new quest. Like we're far away from that. At least it felt like that until this demo.
No, exactly. Like there's different schools of thoughts when it comes to world models. And really it comes down to how are you representing the world for the tasks that you care about simulating, right? So for example, for Genie, they have really pretty pixels. The problem with it is that it, can't remember the world currently more than a minute.
Yeah.
But it's an absolutely, incredible technology.
Yeah.
The way we're approaching it is to say, we're going to use logic and symbolic representations such as code to encode the interactivity and deterministic part of the world. And then we're going to use pixel priors to then render the world.
Sure.
But the pixel prior is only responsible for the appearance. Like games or real world physics, there's a lot of deterministic part that is better represented through code and symbolic representations.
Yeah. So when I watched the demo, was very impressed. It felt like the first sort of turning a coding agent loose on like the Unreal Engine platform. Are you using a game engine under the hood? And then how much of a harness did you have to build to actually get this result? Because the little interactions around, there's music playing and you can bowl and you actually have a game within a game. You can go up to an arcade game and play Space Invaders that it was all built. How much of this is the harness? How much of this do you get for free by sitting on top of frontier LLMs? And then what are you using in terms of game engine and stuff off the shelf?
Yeah, great question. So we actually are using a game engine, but we forced an open source game engine and make a lot of customizations on top of it.
Oh, probably Godot?
Our model, exactly.
Yeah.
To allow our model to essentially leverage a lot of the things that off-the-shelf models can't.
Awesome.
So you can think of it as like this code generation model that is we post-trained to be able to use a variety of tools to build the world.
Very cool. So do you want to become a game developer and use your own tool to generate the next super deep world at way lower cost? Do you want to turn this
playing in a game right now?
Yes. We'll get into simulation theory at the next interview, but or do you want this to be like a consumer tool similar to what we've seen with Suno, Midjourney, where there are people that go and sort of generate their own images or music and enjoy those for themselves? Maybe they share them, but maybe they just enjoy them for themselves. How do you see this being adopted?
Yeah, frankly, our ambition is beyond gaming. So we really want to solve multimodal reasoning.
Yeah.
Like be able to allow models to really do long horizon planning, both in the virtual world and the physical world.
Yeah.
But in terms of commercialization, short-term commercialization, we want to empower basically people to be able to monetize with their ideas that is not bounded by their skill.
Yeah.
Right. We want to be the enablement layer to shift leverage from skill or domain knowledge to really taste.
Yeah.
So that anybody with good ideas can then monetize on their ideas.
Yeah. So how much of a network is important here? Like I'm thinking about the priors of Roblox, building games within the game engine, and a lot of that comes from the network effect, the multiplayer nature. Do you think that will be important as a growth engine for you?
Absolutely. In fact, in our agent today, you can say, I want to build an open multiplayer game.
Sure.
And then the model agent would automatically configure database and multiplayer setups for you, such that you can actually one-click deploy this experience.
Yes.
And share it with your friend.
But importantly, that would not be that sticky of a network effect for you. And so what I'm thinking is like, do I wind up with a Moon Lake handle at some point that I can take across the different games that are created through the platform?
Yes.
Okay.
So you will be able to say, create an ID and then create 10 of your games that just monetize on top of Moon Lake's platform, and we help you distribute it to the players and help you monetize.
That's amazing. This is very, very cool. Take us through the funding news. How much have you raised so far?
We've raised 28 million total in seed round.
Who's in? Any good?
I think that was this. I think this is the same round as last time,
Okay.
right?
Sorry.
But it's an honor to hit it again.
Yeah, I'll hit the gong for anything that Jeff Dean's ripping checks into. Congratulations. It's a great lineup of investors. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah,
and
great
chat
to get
with
the
us.
update. Really impressive progress.
Congrats. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Let me tell you about AppLovin. Profitable advertising made easy with Axon.ai. Get access to over 1 billion daily active users and grow your business today. And let me also tell you about Graphite. Code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. And you heard us tease it earlier, but we got some very special guests in the TBPN Ultra Dome. We got Adam Draper. How are you doing? And Doug Bernauer. How are you guys doing? Good to see you. Look at this outfit.
Whoa.
Welcome back. What you got? A hat for
There
us?
we go.
Fantastic.
Hey, we've both been on once.
Wait, I saw a preview of this. I saw the nuclear hat earlier on the show.
I also,
sit here, yeah?
I also got you guys a
please sit
gift.
there. You're,
Whoa,
bright
whoa.
orange. Is this a safety
You
orange?
have a meat stick hanging out of your
Well, you got gags.
Always.
This guy's got props. He's got props.
We're up here for a little
Yeah,
while.
is the orange because you're doing construction?
Well, Boost
nuclear?
VC is orange. I've been
Okay.
wearing orange pants for
Okay.
about 10 years.
Okay.
For about 10
Oh,
years.
you gotta have the vest for when you're doing video podcasts because we didn't see your pants last time.
Well, I asked Twitter what I should wear today.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was just walking around LA.
Yeah.
And they said the Dumb and Dumber suit.
There we go.
And so I went walking for costume shops.
Yeah.
And I ran into a great guy who tried to sell me everything in the store.
Fantastic.
And I ended up on this.
That's
There you
great.
go.
That's
I got
great.
this.
Should we open this? What? Can we open this?
Yeah,
now?
I want
Okay.
you to open this.
You got to give him time
I'm a collector of
to
things,
crush this
and
chomp.
I felt inspired. Here, open the whole thing. Okay, do you guys know Funko Pops?
I am
or
familiar
like-
with Funko Pops. What did we get here? What is this?
Whoa! Look what it says.
Whoa! Custom.
Custom Funko Pops.
Crazy.
You can just get these made? How does this work?
Dude,
I can't believe this.
if you
Modern
think about a
manufacturing.
gift far enough in advance,
Thank you.
There you go.
you can
This
do
is
it.
amazing.
That's crazy. I feel like we got to protect those so nobody kind of messes with them.
Yeah, we should consult with Dylan Eberscott on our team who
Or
knows
voodoo
collectibles very well.
Yeah.
Because we might have to get this PSA
Yeah.
certified.
I think we should,
thing.
actually. That's a good
Something like that.
That's
Anyway,
amazing. That's amazing. Thank you.
Doug, good to see you again. How are things going?
They're going really great.
I can imagine that demand for energy is in endless supply. What's the latest in your world, though?
Absolutely. Humans like being humans. They like lots of energy.
They do.
And
They do.
you better get ready for the gong.
Okay, what you
Yeah.
got for us?
Oh, we just raised $360 million.
Hey, can we get a pre-gong?
That's a
I
big
love
number.
kicking off an interview.
Congratulations on saying the
That was
biggest number.
360 million, just in case anyone wasn't hearing.
Fantastic.
Did you want another gong? Is that?
And
I
who-
want you to hit
who-
the horse. Actually, that's
Yeah,
on your side.
No, we got to
I wonder if
protect
the horse.
I know.
We should make a horse gong.
Okay,
Like a
so
horse-
It sounds a bit wrong.
So I mean, I've been to the radiant facility in El Segundo. Does this unlock a new facility? Is there going to be a separate manufacturing line? Just a lot more humans joining the team. Like, what is the money for?
Yeah, it's mainly a scale of production at our factory facility in Tennessee, which we signed for in October.
Congrats.
We're about 80-acre site right now, and already
Huge.
broke ground.
Okay.
Digging on site and
Yeah.
buildings going up. It looks
And-
awesome. I saw art
Yeah.
yesterday.
And so now you have, when we were last talking, you were talking about still doing design work. You were working on the what was this? The helium loop. I remember you explained some of this to me very nicely, dumbed it down. But how far are you along in sort of locking the design? Because if you're setting up a manufacturing plant, I imagine that you're going to lose some flexibility at some point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing a dome, a test in the dome very soon. And we actually, since we talked last, we've gotten approval from the Department of Energy.
Cool.
It's a really boring sounding, complex name, but it's the approval to fuel and go to full
Government
power.
approval, like that's more gong worthy. We should hit the gong.
I was about to push for the gong.
There's a lot of people with money. There's only one government that can actually put down a stamp. You know.
Yeah.
It is incredible progress that doesn't get enough credit. But anyway, so continue.
Yeah, so it's called a preliminary design and safety approval. It's done, so that means the design is locked. So that thing we were working on finishing out, that was the big event, and now it's been months of review back and forth, and we're good. We're approved. We're the only ones.
So no big change. Oh, we're moving away from helium. We're moving away from TRISO fuel.
Well, this is just, I should say, that's just for the first unit that goes in the dome. And we've got more of a team now working on the production units that we're going to build lots of and build many at a time, right? Up to 50 per year from that factory site.
One a week.
Wow. Yeah.
So 50, that's 50 megawatts. Are you still thinking about the 1 megawatt architecture?
Yep, absolutely.
Replace the diesel generator?
Yep.
Okay. And then in terms of demand, initially there was a lot of demand from, stranded places where energy is very expensive to get to. You're off the grid, you're on an oil and gas site, or you're in a military context. Has the demand shifted? Have the AI folks showed up?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I mean, we have an announced deal with Equinix for 20 units with a down payment on them, and what will end up happening is we're going to make many reactor products, right? Nuclear reactors can be products. Yep. That really has never happened before because usually you dig a big hole in the ground, you build a building. You're making a building.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, and it's not a product. You have to for it to be a product, it has to be mass producible.
Yeah.
And so that's really what Radiant is all about.
Yeah.
But we're going to be making reactors for space.
Yep.
Reactors for maybe the bottom of the ocean floor. Reactors that float. Reactors.
Atlantis.
Reactors on a truck. Reactors on a plane. Think about them as like they come out of a building and they
Atlantis
move.
mode sound effect.
I don't have that.
That's the horse.
Walk me
Water
through some
horse.
of the economies of scale. If I want in a long time, whenever it's ready, if I want 10 megawatts, is it more efficient to get 10 1 megawatt reactors, or just scale up and create 110 that maybe is bigger, maybe has different manufacturing and transportation requirements? But when do you think about actually scaling up the design versus just selling more of the existing product?
Yeah. So our mandate is really mass produce, and so we don't want to make things that are immobile. And so if you operate a reactor that's at a larger power scale, it's going to be more efficient. There's actually a neat effect where, like, if you put a little bit more nuclear fuel in a design, that fuel makes the other fuel that you had go a little further.
Sure.
So it's very cool, and it's this like exponential scale.
Yeah.
But we know what we're doing. We're totally focused around the efficiency that we provide is more like deployability, right? If you go, I want power next week, we can actually do that.
Yeah.
And if you go too big, you can't do it. You lose that.
Yeah.
So that's what Kaleidos, the product, is about.
Got it. Makes sense.
But this round is really exciting.
Yeah.
We actually had, Adam led the rounds and actually has invested in every round.
Every round.
We've ever done.
I used to be called the most investingest. So
Yes.
I used to say I've invested the most, but now I get to say.
Is this your
we've
biggest
invested
check ever?
Yeah. So Boost VC, pre-seed for magic and mutants and historic things, and that's how we look at it.
Cool.
We generally are investing $500,000 into all the deals.
Seems like a shift.
But every once in a while, you encounter a company and a founder who you just enjoy and care about, and you want to go all in. And so, we in October, after they had announced this, the Nashville plot, my partner and I, Brayton, we got together and we were like, can we do it?
Yeah.
And so we decided to just pack up the truck. We went for it. And fortunately, he is incredible investors. He's an incredible founder. And everyone re-upped. We got to lead it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now I get
Does
to
that change the overall strategy of Boost, or is this sort of like a special case where you went to the LPs and said there's a specific opportunity that we're targeting?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
I do think that there are opportunities like this that emerge when you get to know your founders well.
Yeah.
And so I've invested in 600 companies over the course of 15 years.
Here we go.
I like that. Yes. Yes. And you know we do follow on. We do do those things. But I just feel, hey, if Doug does this, if the team at Radiant is capable of doing this, this makes a historic change in a world I want to live in. And so I ended up getting to care about the founder as well as the mission. And so by doing that, I get to. So my quick answer, you asked a very specific question. In the situation where that will continue to be true, it would be really fun to do more of these. However, I wear orange pants.
Yes.
And I love the early stage.
Yeah. So you should still, you're still very focused on the early stage. Like, we shouldn't just think, oh, Boost is just a major growth equity firm now.
I don't think I could sell. I don't know. No, I just love the energy. I love being the gateway to be able to help people pursue their dream of whatever the thing is.
That's great.
And I've been able to see people across the entire stack for over the last 15 years. And you know, I also now get to be in the room and watch nuclear reactors be built.
Yeah. Are there LPs and investors that you talk to sort of receptive to this idea that nuclear technology is like sort of getting pulled forward by the AI boom, but sort of uncorrelated with it because like we still need energy for oil and gas exploration and the military and all these different things? Like, it's not so hyper indexed on like make or break, do we get to ASI or not? Like, this technology is useful in all scenarios.
Is ASI the new AS? It's
Super
we're calling it that.
We have the goalposts. We have our goalposts over there.
There's a great book called Scythe that calls that the Thunderhead.
Thunderhead.
And so we can call it that now. I'm going to call it Thunderhead for the rest of the podcast.
Ooh, I like that. Thanks.
So the general answer is, I think across all markets, energy only gets consumed more, and that's like such an easy sell for the and
so it's pure execution risk at this point.
Yeah, and we know the demand is there. We know that there's a huge nuclear wave where the government is behind. And so limited partners and other investors, they want access. Now, when Doug pitched me 7 years ago, like none of those things, the energy was still a real problem.
Overnight success.
Yeah. On fire.
I got a hot hand right now.
Oh my God. None of those things, like none of the other things were true. It was, people thought it was a regulatory burden. And people thought like the government would never allow you to do this. But, we have built nuclear reactors before. We have nuclear reactors. And so when he pitched me on a phone call in 20 minutes, I said yes. And we wrote the largest check we had ever written at that point also. And then this last October, we wrote a way bigger one. But
how much work do you think needs to be done on the public perception side? Because right now, data centers are unpopular, and I think the number one reason is not slop in your feed, it's energy prices going up. And if you build more energy, if you build more clean energy, it should be a win-win. Everyone should be happy. But I just have this inkling that if you go and you say, we're building a data center, we're going to make it look good, you won't be visibly obstructed, and we're building the power plant for it, it's a nuclear power plant, you're still going to get a few protesters. Maybe not as many, but they'll still be there. So how do you think how do you think about positioning nuclear for consumers, for people that might have this in their neighborhood at some point, or in their state, or in their country even.
Or in their podcast studio.
Ideally, sign me up.
What do you guys want?
But and then how do you think about?
We
how do you think
actually did
rolling
look
that
at it. We looked at a
look at a
studio
generator.
space. We were about to put an offer down on it. And we were like, what's in that door? And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. That's just the machine. And we were like, oh, I'm actually very curious about it. And I'm actually pretty worried about
the machine.
The machine's back there.
In that case, they were cleaning the soil from some industrial waste that that had happened like 50 years prior.
Soil remediation.
Yeah. Soil remediation, 100 years on. But anyway, communication about the risks of nuclear, the benefits of nuclear. What do you think are the important points to get across, and then how do you think those diffuse through the populace?
Yeah. It's really important, first off, to talk to the public and really explain how to think about nuclear. And I wrote a thing called Atoms for Prosperity that lays out some of those points, but we are making it now into a cooler kind of series. We can't go through all of the individual points here. But I think you're right about AI, right? I think that people don't like really a big building going up, like a big monstrosity that's going to bring a bunch of attention and people and traffic and like all the stuff that it brings. And you also have the added complexity of the energy markets typically being very regulated, right? There's a lot of laws around it, and they can just get a higher rate they have to pay, right? If they get enough votes, right? And so that's probably more on the growth side of things. The good news is the thing that we're doing is the opposite. You know, most people doing nuclear are targeting something big. You know, and there's a lot of excitement around nuclear right now and AI. A lot of people are saying a saying, they're building a building. We're not doing that. We're doing the doing.
Sure.
So, and what is that? It's just reactors that we build. They're on our site. It's a building far away that you never see as the customer, and it just appears when you want it. It goes away when you want it to. You call us and go, pick it up. It's kind of beautiful. It's like totally different from other nuclear. So I think that will help quite a lot because it's just such a different thing to be able to go, you know, I can have clean power, and we go, and they go, I can have it next week, yes, and they go, and it can send it away anytime. Yep, anytime you want, and no waste. Yeah, we take that and we handle that.
Talk about the ramp, because we were looking at the data center that was recently protested in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It was tiny by AI comparisons, 25 megawatts. You could probably supply it in half a year, but Meta's average campus right now is around 500 megawatts. Take you 10 years to power that. What does the ramp up look like?
Until your next biggest check.
What does the ramp up to get from 50 a year to 500 look like for you?
So I don't know, right? It's not really something we're trying to address. What I'm most interested in is being able to put reactors in really crazy places. Like put a reactor on the bottom of the ocean floor, like I was saying.
Why would you actually want one on the bottom of the ocean floor?
It's the same reason you would go put a research facility in Antarctica. Right?
Oh, okay.
Because it's far away and it's weird there, and you're going to learn some things. And we haven't ever done it before.
Interesting.
And so it's a frontier. And that's kind of all that I'm excited about.
So
is the frontier.
So in theory, you would sync some sort of remote lab that had camera equipment, lights, and sensors, and you could understand what's happening at the bottom of the ocean. That's fascinating.
I don't know what you'll learn.
James Cameron should become the spokesperson.
Anybody could, if you want, we can make a reactor for that, right? And the thing is, like, if you want, you can't use a combustion power source, and there's definitely no sun. So it's just think about that.
That's
right?
actually interesting.
We're the only thing you can do in a lot of places, actually. Not just that one. It's just a good example to get people to think, like, oh shoot, okay, bottom of the ocean floor. All the way up to anywhere in space. As far from the Earth as you want to be. As far from the sun as you want to be.
Oh, true.
Right? Think about that. That's
solar's
what
weaker on Mars, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although you'd still use it.
I do think
I like both. I like solar plus nuclear.
I love it.
I think you're on the right path, though, that education is one of the most expensive issues, right? And stories like having a nuclear reactor on the ocean floor that's functioning and we're learning tell a great story. And so those stories become easier to tell as more of them exist. The hard part is the in-between. We saw this when we were in crypto also. Everyone was saying, like, the banks will never let you do this, the governments will never let you do it, and now, obviously, like, it's on the Congress floor, it's all the rave.
So many big, massive...
and so, like, transitions take time, and they're expensive, but, like, it's important because the end consumer gets a better product.
In the early stage of, I would call, like, the hard tech boom, the defense tech boom, the El Segundo boom, the dollars that were being raised.
You're talking about 1980s?
Yeah, I'm talking more about like 2022, maybe when people started paying attention in Silicon Valley. But the dollars were small, and so they could be sort of flyer checks from VCs. Now we're getting into real numbers. What do you think about the relationship with the SaaS apocalypse? It feels like public markets investors are rotating away from software. They would love something like industrials, energy, something that's clearly going to exist in 100 years, no matter how good the computers get at AI. But then in Silicon Valley, we'll talk to founders all the time where they're raising for a software product. Basically, it's just AI indexed. And so they're soaking up 200 million of capital every other day. What's happening at the early stage in terms of excitement and at that growth stage to fund projects like this?
Well, as we are growth investors.
Yes, officially. Private equity guys.
Pre-seed
really.
and Series D.
Yeah. Oh, I actually have a shirt that says pre-seed and Series D.
Oh, I love that.
You're actually thinking on the longest time horizon.
So good.
I'm going to make a custom
crazy.
gift.
Technology looks like magic.
Incredible.
Well, here, I'm sure we both have thoughts on this.
Yeah,
so we've been investing in hard tech. We have a way of when everyone really gets excited about something, we like looking the other way. And over COVID, we saw everyone getting really excited about software because we were all locked in our houses and inside, and like software was where you saw everything.
Anything for remote work is just booming.
And so we made a conscious decision to be like, hey, that's not always going to be true. Let's invest in in-person businesses that are like physically expensive, that are high capex. And so we obviously invested in Radiant multiple times, and a bunch of other Starfish, Venus, just an incredible number of fantastic companies. And so like we were able to. I think that there's a sense in the investment world where they want to be a part of something that's important, but sometimes they're not considering whether or not it's a good investment. And I think that balance is at scale right now. That would be my and I think they're probably overestimating the SaaS apocalypse. I think so many talented people are building so many incredible things. I was just at the Upfront Summit, which was just over here. Walkable. So thank you. This was very efficient for me. And you know who I love to hear speak is Kathy Wood from ARC, because she's just so optimistic about unlocking technology assets to everyone. And a lot of other people were sort of in the AI negativity bucket. And I was like, how can you not be optimistic? We just saw everyone who's building awesome stuff on this show, right? Like incredible AI things.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but Square just did the largest layoff in S&P 500 history on a percentage basis.
That's crazy.
And so that's kind of the flip side, and even
that's
Howard Marks.
Hey, get in touch with Boost VC. And we're going to invest in some Square alumni. I think that it's the
you got 4,000 of them to back.
Fantastic.
So get the Brink trucks ready.
There are talented people there. We would love to invest in them. And I think what AI is really causing is this eruption of amazing individual entrepreneurs. It's like the next wave. So it's exciting.
Very interesting.
On that note, of optimism, there's a very cool video we released just yesterday that I thought you might want to see. And I think you guys have it
team
prepped,
has
so
it?
we can
let's do it.
We can have a
let's
look
play
see. And just shows what we're building, right? So we talked about the approval, the regulatory approval.
I remember seeing
the core plate. This is
I think you showed me like the raw
system.
material for
That's
this.
Harvard in the loop. That's us doing orbital welds. That's the tubing. That's the mounts for the pressure vessel. That's the forged pressure vessel piece.
That's crazy.
And that's what we're doing.
Amazing.
July 4th.
That's our
July 4th.
Reactor
I love it.
So cool.
How awesome!
Yeah.
Right?
Amazing.
It's just
So
like
building all that.
huge physical things. Like we're back to building huge physical things.
So you'll bring that design to the dome?
That's right. All that is the actual nuclear reactor hardware that we're showing, and this is really like the most that we can possibly show to the public. And we now have two buildings. One is just all manufacturing. It's like you go in, it's all machine shops. These big fancy glove boxes where we're doing welding with controlled gas conditions.
Wow,
and It's so much different from the last time you were down.
Yeah. When I was at the office, were you sending out for like CNC parts?
A lot of stuff we had to send out.
Yeah.
A ton of stuff.
Because I noticed a lot of equipment, but there wasn't that much actual machining material to like make stuff that you would put on. Interesting. So that having the machines in the actual building must speed up iteration as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the incoming capital allows us to make those moves and do those things, and even invest a little bit in R&D for things that are really far out, that aren't even a product yet, that are just like, we realize the limitation and we're like, we're going to go push on that thing. And if it moves, we'll have something no one else has.
Yeah. Last time I was there, I think you had around 40 people. How big is the company now?
God, 150.
Wow. Talk to me about that road. I mean, you were at SpaceX for a long time. Did you ever manage that many people? Is this a new challenge for you?
No, I did a very weird job when I was at SpaceX. I was there 12 years, and the first couple of years
Overnight success.
I loved it. Is why I stayed 12 years, right? It's the coolest mission, like make life multiplanetary. I love that, and I left to make a reactor company to make power for that mission still. Like I still want our reactors to go that route.
Totally.
Of course, a different type, but. I was doing stuff like, I made the first Falcon 9 ground system, and then I made the first 2 rockets. I traveled around the country testing the first 2 Falcon 9s that flew. Wow. And then I did the first ever rocket with legs, and that was like report directly to Elon with like 3 other people. And like the 4 of us would go to his desk, and go, here's what we're doing. He'd be like, and we got so lucky that like every time we came to him, we were pretty much like, and the qual tank passed, and it worked, and the schedule's good, and so he loved it, right? It was like, great. But from there, it was like, then I was doing Boring Company, and I was doing Hyperloop. It was every Elon like side project, which is exciting.
Around special projects, so not really full scale up constantly.
Yeah.
But now it's higher.
But I would just go and talk to whoever I needed and cross every line possible. And I didn't use the right channels of communication. I just pulled all the assets, and I'm building a thing. I'm building a thing, and I'm ignoring everything else. And that's basically still how I operate.
Yeah, that's great. Hidden candy shop.
Powerful.
Anyway, Jordy, anything else?
No, guys, congratulations.
Thank you so much for coming on
Thank
the
you
show.
for coming here.
This is fantastic.
This is great.
This is a great one.
So excited. I genuinely cannot wait to get my own. So I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet, but
It's going to power your Mac.
How many are you going to need in total?
How many Mac Minis can you power?
You're talking about the bottom of the ocean one?
2035.
Yeah.
I'm going to need some for a boat. I
love it.
That.
Yeah.
An electric nuclear boat.
Exactly. I mean, off grid for the preppers, for the rich preppers, the AI billionaires. They might want it.
Yeah. Well, and if you have some real estate on the moon, it's not very high value without power.
There you go.
You want to get some power for that.
There we go.
I like that.
Guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing
Have
progress.
a good rest of your day.
Hang out. Hopefully we can see you and wrap up the show.
That concludes our guests for today. Thank you for watching TBPN.
Let's get more into the block news.
Okay, you can pull some up. The other big news is that Nano Banana 2 launched today, combining pro capabilities with lightning fast speed. We, of course, did. This is the latest image generation model from Google, and Tyler gave me a little review. He ran a couple benchmarks. Some pretty impressive results. You said it's
Big
slower.
upgrade.
And is that because it's reasoning more, you think?
So it's unclear. I saw people saying online that it was actually much faster. So
Okay.
I'm curious if it was just like while they were just deploying it.
Sure.
And it was on Google. It was on the studio. It wasn't on the Gemini website when I was trying it.
Yeah.
So that could be. I'm not actually sure if it's.
Yeah, I mean, the headline is intelligence and visual quality at flash speed. So, I think that they were going for something faster. But yeah, I mean, these models take time.
I think I was using it right when it was being deployed.
But there's
a big
examples
upgrade
here.
over Nano Banana Pro.
Yeah.
Looks
a lay flat infographic depicting the water cycle, some cartoons. Yeah, it really has always been great at nailing like these complex graphics that typically you would absolutely have to do piece by piece and then maybe add the text afterwards because you would get slight hallucinations or misspellings. And it seems to be one-shotting these things at this point. So we, of course, ran Waldo Bench, where we try and use a generative image model to create a photorealistic Where's Waldo graphic, and you can be the judge. This took you a couple prompts, but we did in fact get a Where's Waldo that fits the right perspective. I feel like the scale of all the characters is correct, and most importantly, there's only one Waldo, and he's somewhat hard to find. It's not the hardest Where's Waldo, so I'd give it sort of an 8 or 9 out of 10 on Waldo quantity and placement. But as you zoom in, one of the key features of Where's Waldo is that there are little storylines playing out throughout the image to distract you from finding Waldo. And so that is in fact happening here. You can see some folks some kids building a sandcastle, some people in line for what looks like ice cream. There's a mariachi band. There are sunbathers. There's a large sandcastle that's gathered a lot of folks. The level of quality, once you actually zoom in very, very closely on the individual people that are being depicted at a very small scale. This is totally nitpicking. But there are some hallucinations still. It's not quite at the level of visual fidelity of a handcrafted Where's Waldo, but it's getting close. And so congratulations to everyone over on the Nano Banana 2 team who made this possible. It's certainly a major step forward, although I'm moving the goalposts again because I want my full Where's Waldo just as intriguing as a typical Where's Waldo. Jordy, what else do you have for us on the Block news? How is the internet reacting to the news that Block laid off many people?
I mean, it's 4,000 people, which is a huge number. Mm-hmm. And then I ran a deep research report to try to find, because it's certainly not the largest layoff ever. Mm-hmm. But it is the largest layoff as a percentage of the overall workforce in S&P 500 history.
Wait, how is that possible?
So the second largest layoff in S&P 500 history was
like
ConocoPhillips at 22.5%, Chevron at 17.5%, Verizon
nearly half.
15. Intel did 15% in 2024. GM did 15% in 2018. Meta.
So I guess
13.
The Twitter restructuring doesn't count because it was delisted before that happened.
Yeah.
So Twitter went from 7,500 to 1,500. And yes, I think you're right. It might not have been in the S&P 500 at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Interesting. Well, there's some reactions. Will Slaughter, Bama Bond, says in 3 years, from December 2019 to December 2022, Block more than tripled its headcount from 3,900 to 12,500, unwinding less than half an insane COVID overhiring binge has much more to do with Jack Dorsey's managerial incompetence than whether AI is going to take your job. And so people are immediately jumping to, is this AI? Is this not? The stock's up 25% on the news. So the investors certainly think it's the right move to make, the right hard thing to do. The other interesting thing is that Block, if I'm correct, did a fairly large merger with Afterpay. And I don't know how much overlap in the employee base there was, but it's not uncommon when a merger of those two sizes, $10 billion. I think the Afterpay merger was in the tens of billions. Afterpay, Block acquisition. Let's see. It was $13.9 billion. It was an all-stock deal. It was originally announced at $29 billion, and I'm not sure how many total employees. Let's see if we can pull up this. Afterpay had around 1,500 employees, and so there's a few different things this go. Dan Primack says it's stunning in its candor, and if you're one of those spared, how could you not be wondering how long until AI comes for your job too? If CEOs get comfortable that this is okay, let alone if they believe shareholders will be rewarded for it, could set off a stunning layoff wave. Very interested in the AI will create.
Yeah, so the obvious pushback, Tolley over at Solana is making it. He said, didn't Jack have 10,000 people running this website when only 75 were needed even before AI? So yeah, again, it doesn't really matter whether or not a company is actually getting tremendous efficiency from AI. Every CEO is going to do this. And we've said over and over and over, I'm surprised more CEOs haven't done the Elon thing. Salesforce has 76,000 people at the company, right? It's basically a city. And yeah, it's really, really sad. Jared Sleeper, who has a fantastic episode on Odd Lots about the SaaS apocalypse. He says, first of many sad days, as painful as it is, Jax did focus service by being decisive. Of course, really sad day. These employees will be able to quickly go and hit the job market, which probably gives them somewhat of an advantage over future layoffs like this.
If you're not a software engineer, this should be a wake-up call to what has happened in the past few months with AI engineering tools. Everything has changed. Now we get to watch as companies learn how to either use these tools in earnest or slowly fall behind, says Dustin Curtis. I'm very interested to learn the shape of the layoffs. Did they lean more software-focused or less software-focused? This is certainly just one company, one example, but interesting to see how this matches with the Citadel rebuttal of the Citrini piece. A lot of people are seeing this as like vindication of the Citrini piece. Anyway, we will cover it more.
Take Kim says, every media person, please read this before writing your narratives tomorrow. Jack Dorsey is Jack Dorsey. Do not extrapolate. Do not pass go. Responding to Will Slaughter's
post that I just
post.
Yeah.
Square, for context, did around $24 billion in total revenue in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
They've been trading at around 30, even though the business is profitable and growing, and so had certainly been beat up. But very, very sad day. Gavin Baker had a post that Kyle Harrison highlighted. He said the fact that Twitter is running well with headcount down significantly really matters. Whether they admit it or not, everyone in SV admires Elon. A lot of venture-funded CEOs are sending emails like this, inspired by Elon and taking drastic actions. Margins are going up.
Mm-hmm.
Balaji says, this is the first AI cut, and it will send shockwaves. Remember, Jack is one of the greatest founders of all time. He created this platform that we're all on and has been early to many technological shifts, and Block is doing very well as a business. So for him to cut 40% headcount in this way is a signal to everyone in tech: get good now, become indispensable, work nights and weekends, learn the AI tools and raise your game where you might not make the cut as an employee or as a company. I know that sucks, but capitalism is natural selection. The market is unforgiving because you are the market. After all, it's not like you're buying some random gallon of milk from the store. You're always buying the best product at the best price. So too for apps, your customers are always installing the best piece of code they can get. And because AI is going to create new winners, if you aren't the best in your market, someone may become better with AI. To be clear, Block's severance is generous by any measure: 20 weeks of pay, 6 months of health insurance, invested equity. All of that goes far beyond any typical package. Jack did his level best to cushion the disruption. The laid off are a temporary, unfortunate class as opposed to a permanent underclass. But had he not leaned into the AI transition, he might have had to lay off more people slowly and over time as faster competitors went after his market share. How would they do that? Sure, AI is not a panacea by any means, but the closer you are to software engineering, the more aggressively you need to embrace agentic workflows. The AI companies are already doing that, in places like Stripe, Shopify, Coinbase, and now Block are pushing hard on this area. There will be overcorrection, but the fundamental technical innovation is real, and you need to either disrupt yourself or get disrupted. I think that's generally good advice.
Mm-hmm. Anything else in the timeline you want to review? I'm sure we will be covering
Based 16Z says every tech company can fire at least half their people, but most can probably do 80%.
Black Bell. Thanks.
Yeah. And to round it off, we'll leave you with a white pill, or something like a white monster, which is that Joe Weisenthal is sharing the chart for the Monster Beverage Corporation, which seemingly is entirely AI proof.
Yeah, Monster's been ripping. Fascinating company history, founded by a very.
How much do you think? How much do you think Citrini paid Square to do this live?
Yes.
To validate.
How deep does it go? Yeah, A-Lab's taking a victory lap.
After being mocked for the last 4 days.
Yeah.
Fed Speak says, on one hand, Jack is a notoriously bad business operator, and on the other hand, it's over. The pushback on Balaji saying Jack is one of the greatest founders ever is simply that, yes, he is one of the greatest founders ever. And I don't think anyone would say that he is the best operator of and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes being the best founder means making the super hard decision and having the foresight to get ahead.
It would be a very weird situation if only Jack Dorsey founded companies
Take
can
him
withstand
said,
an 80%.
Same dude
labor
bought
force reduction.
Jay-Z's title, not the greatest operator.
Yeah, take him's white pilling. He's always white pilling. I enjoy him. Anyway, thank you for watching the show today. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Sign up for our newsletter at tbpn.com. We will be live tomorrow at 11 a.m.
No, we won't.
No, we won't. We're off tomorrow.
We're off tomorrow.
We are heading to Montana. And so we have some affairs to attend to, and we will not be live tomorrow, but we will return on Monday.
And I can't wait.
Mark your calendars, 11 a.m. Pacific on Monday. It will
We
be
love you.
March. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Nice work, brothers. I'll see you on the next one.